Hey everybody, and welcome to day 2 of 4 of the games coming from Hardened Hartford last weekend. There's some pretty spicy ones today, starting with Dash versus Arakni, our first look at Kayo versus Victor, and then wrapping it up with Kassai versus Dromai, featuring our boy Evan Herndon. Now, before we jump into it, just wanted to plug real quick, you can become a channel member in the description or with the join button below, and it really goes an extra mile in helping support coverage efforts at every Battle Hardened that I can feasibly get to in the US. There is the Battle Hardened at SCGCon Philadelphia coming up next month, and your support would mean a ton in helping me get there. Thank you so much. Enjoy the games.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you lovely folks joining us here at the Battle Hardened in Hartford. Welcome back for more heavy hitters action in a brand new metagame. My name is Shahmir Samee, and I am of course here with the lovely Pro Tour semi-finalist Shahmir Samee for more of the action. Shahmir, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastically, Scott, and I'm really excited to see what Heavy Hitters has in store for us today. We've got a great game lined up coming up.
Yeah, we certainly do. We have the honor of bringing you round number 3, which is going to be Sebastian Russell again on Dash here against Jake Torres on Arakni, a hero we haven't seen too much of heading into this room. Got a brand new toy in Heavy Hitters as well. What are we expecting to see from this kind of matchup?
Well, for Arakni, it's all about the new toy, as you say. Coercive Tendency is a card that has taken Arakni from being this kind of very slow, kind of dirtily deck that's capable of a very limited damage output to one turn to suddenly a deck that can just be chaining 0 for 4s with potential on-hits in a single turn. So it's a really exciting card, which I think Jake is really going to need, because out of Dash, we're probably expecting the kind of slow setup pistol game plan, which works so well against these decks that really can't just like challenge with massive damage output like the top premier aggro decks. So expecting a bit of a grind fest on this one, but Arakni's got the tools maybe to grind this time. I'm pretty excited to see one in the 2-0 bracket and see how it lines up here.
For sure. Very much going to be a battle of attacking for 1 versus attacking for 2, and I look forward to seeing who manages to come out on top. So with that being said, how about we head on down to the game and see what's up? Okay, players getting their equipment setups ready here. Nothing too surprising here. An adaptive plating for Dash just to make sure those on-hits don't sneak through. And of course, the all-important mask on the side of Arakni.
Indeed, I think that mask is going to put in a lot of work, because there is a world in which this game goes to fatigue. That's not uncommon for Arakni to be working with the power of Mask of Perdition and all that silver generation.
You do love to see it. So Nerve Scalpel and Spider's Bite, the selection of choice here. Not too surprised to see that on Arakni's side. Awful lot of defense reactions from these more slab dash, tree frog dash style decks at the moment. Makes sense to have a fair bit of game into those matchups. Looks like we've got Sebastian starting here. Much what you'd expect, loading up that induction chamber, loading up that plasma pistol. And what's the follow-up? Well, it's a plasma purifier. What a way to start.
What a way to start, indeed. That's exactly where you want to be as Dash, with the turn 0 item and a fully load going into an arsenal. This is it's really as good as it gets, and not what you want to be seeing on Arakni's side. Plasma Purifier is pretty much the ideal pistol item to be putting on the board right now, so Jake's got some work to do.
Not the best start all round for Jake here, but Sebastian couldn't be happier. We do have the benefit of not having to waste our resources on turn number 1, though. All these extra boos being pitched to send in some dagger shots. Nerve Scalpel connecting. Spider's Bite may be a bit more of a question.
Indeed, I think it really depends on what kind of a list Sebastian is running for Dash here, because if we're looking at more of these kind of like switch plan dashes where there's a good number of boost attacks in the deck, that Spider's Bite is really going to reduce his ability to block. And considering we're seeing this Nerve Scalpel hit, okay, but we're taking the Spider's Bite as well, which is pretty interesting to see. I think he's either very confident in his ability to block here, or he doesn't feel the need to, and I'd be pretty scared on both sides in Jake's position.
Taking a cheeky peek here with Arakni at the top of the deck. Spark of Genius, not one we want to see. Away that's going, making sure that we don't be drawing that to find more items here. Leave No Witnesses, quite a strong follow-up to the end of this turn if that Arsenal card is an important one. Might force Sebastian to reevaluate their plan here, choosing to block with at least 1-0 to 60.
Indeed, and out of Arsenal, I think I'm seeing, oh yes, there's a reinforce the line. What a massive way to prevent that on-hit from happening, and not particularly care about that Spider's Bite on-hit. It's maybe not the most effective use of the card, but hey, avoiding a card getting banished is avoiding a card getting banished.
Starting to understand why that Arsenal was left horizontal if we're reinforcing the line. We are passing back to Sebastian in this case. Full grip other than the 0-60 gone. 3 cards to work with. Very likely we just see a menagerie of pistol shots here. Maybe another item, maybe a boost attack. We'll have to see how many non-mechanologist cards are in this deck as the game goes on.
Indeed. Reinforce is definitely a card that's indicative of, it could be between either the very slab defensive pistol focused deck list or this kind of switch hybrid deck list that we see. So we're looking forward to seeing Sebastian's follow up here.
For sure. Starting things off, as we kind of expected, that induction chamber loaded, pistol shot coming in. Let's keep as much information hidden from Jake here as possible for as long as we can. Jake already kind of seeing the nature of this matchup here. These gunshots, they're not going to stop. They are going to be the flavor of this game, much like his own weapon attacks. And you really have to pick and choose those moments as to when you want to try and get value from your mask, from your black tech whisperers with extra attacks, maybe even that coercive tendency, and when we should be using those spare cards to soak up these gunshots.
Absolutely. It's interesting to see the Purifier not activated here, in which case, yep, that is suggesting that we have a spark of genius coming out to find a second pistol item rather than going for 2 shots with the pistol. This is not a great position for Jake because this is no doubt going to find, a second Plasma Purifier. That's not what I expected here. Induction Chamber is the standard kind of second item to pick here, but you know what? This is going to start pushing breakpoints with that pistol, so it's going to become a lot more awkward to block.
Yeah, this is not what you want to see as Arakni this early in the game. These items are very much what the game is all about, hoping to steal those off the top of the deck with your various banish effects. And with both Plasma Purifiers in play already, that means we're never going to be losing one of those to those all-important contract effects. Those breakpoints are already online.
I'd be really fascinated to see if Arakni, if Jake has any plan for an item that's already in play for this matchup, because there is some sideboard hate that could be applied here. We've got the Imperial Warhorn, which is a bit of a slow and grindy card, but hey, if that's not Arakni, I don't know what is. Or we could be seeing something like a Smashing Good Time out of Arsenal to really like push some damage and combined with an attack reaction, just like kill out, destroy one of these Plasma Purifiers or even the Induction Chamber.
For sure. So if you're Jake in this position, Shahmir, you're staring down these 2 items early, you know if the game starts going long and grindy, you might be at a disadvantage. Is there anything you can do? Does Coercive Tendency let you become a red line aggro deck and try and take the tempo that way?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about it. What Arakni's usually struggled with, and Assassin as an entire card pool, is the ability to gain Go Again and leverage all of the cards in your hand efficiently. The most common way in which they'd be taking multiple actions is kind of what we're seeing here, where we'd expect a dagger swing, followed by a 0 for 4 or a 1 for 5, or in some cases a rare 2 for 6 attack with some kind of on-hit attached. But Coercive Tendency, should Jake find it, we'd be seeing the potential for him to attack with one of these 0 for 4s, play a Coercive Tendency, banishing a card at the top that fulfills the contract that's in play, and in doing so, just give all of his Assassin attack action cards Go Again. So we could be seeing a Briar-like turn of going 0 for 4 with an on-hit, 0 for 4 with an on-hit, 0 for 4 with an on-hit, chained together that can really put Sebastian under pressure.
Very impressive stuff. Not a fan of having to pitch 2 reds here to a dagger swing, but Sebastian, again, kind of happy to take this Nerve Scalpel. Makes you wonder if Reinforce the Line is taking the place of those defense reactions. Codex of Frailty from the Arsenal also paying us off for getting that extra card out of our hand.
Indeed, I think this is, it's probably the willingness to take these Nerve Scalpels is definitely more suggestive that we're looking at this kind of switch hybrid list that is maybe a little bit lighter on the D-Reacts and more interested in things like Reinforce the Line. Codex of Frailty is a really big lifesaver here, I think, because Dash ends up actually having to clog the Arsenal with a boost card, which they're not particularly interested in having. For them to clear that, they're going to have to be throwing that as an attack at some point, which is not really where they want to be.
Well, there is another way to clear it.
There is another way to clear this Arsenal, and it involves taking at least 1 point of damage from this Leave No Witnesses.
Leave No Witnesses, the card brought back here from the Codex from Jake. Makes a lot of sense here. Not a lot of attacks in that graveyard yet to pick back up. If you don't want that 0 to 60, you can certainly get it back out, and I'm not sure I massively like the idea of attacking for 1 on my Frailty turn, so maybe that's the way we clear the space. Maybe we're just happy to save it for a future turn. Sebastian with a lot of choices here, with so many items in play so early.
Indeed, it looks like players are taking some damage here, so I think we might be electing to just clear that Arsenal as planned. which is pretty respectable. I like the play here. As you say, though, this frailty is really going to come into play and damage Sebastian's turn. Often we think of Codex of Frailty as being a very powerful card just for the kind of card advantage effects, getting back a card from the graveyard, forcing a discard, and creating a ponder token. But here we get the added benefit of Frailty really reducing Sebastian's damage output. This was a good catch-up turn for Jake.
Talk about added benefit here. That attack also scoring High Octane off the top of the deck from Sebastian. A card that is kind of one of Dash's powerhouse plays towards the end of the game, where you can stack up those action points and really leverage that gun with all your extra resources. One of those down free of charge here. Purifiers are loaded though, and we're sending in that gun this turn for at least 3 damage.
Indeed, but it's only 3 here, so we're not worrying about that breakpoint. Indeed, Frailty coming into play, coming into clutch over here. We're seeing some of these defense reactions, which is it's pretty interesting to see them sided in. This is one thing which Arakni kind of struggles with sometimes. It's like you're so committed to being a really grindy and defensive deck that in a matchup like this where you need to be the aggressor, you still don't really have much of a choice other than to play cards like Sink Below or Fate Foreseen in this case.
Makes a lot of sense here. Sebastian more than happy to spend these blues they had left over, just firing off 6 damage, reloading up one of those purifiers and making sure they are ready to go again next turn. Jake here choosing to burn that block on Black Tech Whisperers here might be indicative of the kind of turn we're expecting in a moment.
Yeah, it's kind of a sign that Jake's feeling ready to use it somehow. So that's going to be interesting to see. Interestingly, not blocking with the Mask of Perdition, though. And I find that with the way that these Arakni decks want to generate silver, you're finding them both pop at the same time for the ability to send 2 contract attacks on a turn and, hopefully on the second one, try and banish a lot of cards and generate a lot of silver in the process. So interesting to see how this might play out.
Love to see this. Once again, those daggers coming in clutch nice and early. The Tunic here going to pay an extra resource towards this turn for Surgical Extraction. Now, with 1 card in hand and 1 card in the arsenal, I find it hard to believe this is coming in for 4.
Indeed, there's a lot of potential reactions that Jake could be holding up here. Within the Assassin card pool, the 2 would be perhaps expect to see most likely are the likes of Shred, which is a fantastic yellow and even blue card. Or, cut to the chase, we could even be seeing something like a Pummel, but no, we are going for a Shred from hand here on the High Octane and opting to crack the Black Tech Whisperers. So if Sebastian can't follow this up, but it looks like Sebastian does have it covered with a Sink Below.
Certainly does. Little bit of a punish there for Jake choosing to go all in on this Surgical Extraction. Those Black Techs get earned, a copy of Shred get earned as well. Not a lot of damage achieved in this case, regardless of that Nerve Scalpel making Sink Below look a little smaller.
Sebastian going down to 1 card in hand at least. There is a bit of consolation in here. It's unfortunately a blue. You'd honestly much rather that was a red of some sort. But with that blue pitched and no card in arsenal, who knows? Jake could have an opportunity to follow up with something like that coercive tendency we were discussing before.
Interesting. So it seems like Sebastian here is putting 1 dice on top of both of their Plasma Purifiers when they're both loaded to connotate they're both ready to go. So this is going to be a gunshot for 4, followed by another gunshot for 4. That's a pretty good turn off of 1 blue.
Indeed. Well, the thing about being a Dash player is you've got so many counters to deal with. The more shortcuts you put in place, the better. Trust me on that one. I've been in a tournament where I'm shuffling both hands all over the table, trying to get counters on this, off this, turning this sideways to show I've used it. It's a bit messy. So I respect the ability to clear up the board state a little.
As a certified dice goblin, I can't be indulging in that behavior. I need all the dice all over the board, everywhere. It's about feeling like I'm in a steampunk factory when I'm playing Dash, and that means all the dice all over the table. We're back to Jake here. Once again, these iconic dagger swings to start the turn. Interesting, no Nerve Scalpel this time, just a Spider's Bite. Pretty suggestive that we're only getting the 1 dagger this turn.
Indeed, that's one thing you can really start to kind of get an impression on of Arakni's turn cycles. It's like the order of the daggers truly does matter. Because they're going to prioritize the one that they want. Oh, okay, this is an interesting little turn cycle. They're going to prioritize the one that they really want to hit coming out. But this is a pretty good turn for Jake getting to leverage a Sigil of Solace into yet another Codex of
I love we could have just played the Sigil before we played the Codex. No, that's less fun. We need to hold priority when we play our Codex and Sigil in response to show that we understand how timing windows work. Love to see it from Jake here. Picking up that Leave No Witnesses again. Not the most spectacular pickup here due to that random Mechanonis attack going back in the arsenal, but there's a good chance we see that play pattern we saw before happening once again.
Indeed. There's always this little bit of a risk when you let a contract card hit, where in this case, sure, I guess it's clearing your arsenal in this way, but what if there's an item banished off the top? That's really, I think, the position that Dash has to be a little afraid of here. Sebastian's ahead enough that he can probably afford to take a risk like that every now and then, but the more times you take that risk, the more likely it is that at some point you're going to lose a card that you really need for your game plan.
It is that red 0 to 60 going back into the arsenal in exchange for a zipper hit. Teklo Core found on the top of the deck being pushed to the bottom. What do you make of that?
I think it's definitely suggestive that we are looking for looking to banish these power cards off the top. It's an interesting situation where I think we can suggest that Sebastian is looking to actually keep his to keep that 0 to 60 in arsenal, because by letting it get banished by Leave No Witnesses, that's offering a silver back to Arakni in this case. So I think we could be seeing this getting blocked out. In any case, setting that Teklo Core to the bottom is definitely looking to take down another pistol item off the top.
Interesting. It is going to be a full 7 blocked here, or 6, I guess, thanks to Spider's Bite, to make sure that Leave No Witnesses doesn't connect. It looks like we had a bit of an issue with Arakni's information there. It turns out touching the opponent's deck comes with some small inconsistencies, but thankfully both players on the up and up. That 0 to 60 here, we have that extra card going. We are using it here to load our items. Is it worth attacking for 3 here, or are we just holding on to that for post-frailty?
It looks like we are attacking for 3 here, and I think the big reason for this is that you really do need to try to clear your arsenal as much as possible in this matchup so that you can save it for cards that really deserve to be there, like additional pistol items that you didn't have the space to set up, or defensive cards like defense reactions or reinforce the line. The risk of trying to hold that 0 to 60 on a future turn is that if you want to clear it on a future turn and you find that you have more actions to do, you could be looking at boosting, which is something that will eventually come into play in this matchup, no doubt, but not at this point in the game.
Makes a lot of sense. Looks like we've just had some clarification here as to how these purifiers are working. Sebastian, I'm going to separate these out for Jake's benefit in the future. We are doing a very good job. I think the Sigil life might be missing from our total here. I think Jake is actually at 39 here, doing a great job at keeping themselves flush and alive, but losing a lot of cards in the process. Is this normally how Arakni expects this to be going?
Well, I think Arakni is in his most comfortable position when he's maintaining a high life total and attacking the deck, because once you start playing out contract cards are really good at saying, hey, I'm going to take at least 1 card from you. Either you're taking 4 damage to boot as well, or you're blocking a little bit, taking 1 damage, and then I'm taking 2 cards from you. He is fantastic at attacking the deck and pushing towards these fatigue game plans. But this is a turn that's a little bit more aggressive than that. We're seeing an Enlightened Strike, one of the few attack action cards that can go again of its own volition, coming out of the deck into a Fleece the Frail, I believe.
Indeed. So really interesting here to see Jake prioritizing pushing these Teklo Pounders away. That's the second one we've seen on the top of Sebastian's deck. Force to the bottom of the deck. Definitely a card that can push a lot of damage early and gets a little bit more miserable in the late game. Makes sense that we want to be seeing that one go to the bottom. Sink below, however, going to make sure we aren't losing any more cards from the top of our deck.
Indeed.
Looks like we are bouncing
just double checking the graveyard and banner situation to see, how many cards are left. What kind of a game are we looking at here?
Definitely feels like the kind of matchup that is exceptionally attrition heavy, and it makes sense both these players want to know exactly what's left in each other's chambers at this point.
Absolutely. It can make a very big difference in the long term, not just kind of number of cards, but also what specific cards are left. I think taking note of that high octane being in the banish zone is quite significant for Jake here.
Certainly is. So 0 to 60 coming in, blocked out by a Fate Foreseen. Sebastian taking the arsenal here to build up a bigger turn in the near future. Do stop me if you've seen this one before, Shahmir. It's Spider's Bite for 1.
It's Spider's Bite for 1. This is a weapon which prior to the release of Outsiders, it was probably my most hated weapon in the game. And in terms of, I just could not understand this design. And then Outsiders came out, and all of a sudden I understood it all. And it swiftly became one of my favorite and most, what I believe to be one of the most impressively kind of designed weapons in Flesh and Blood at the moment.
For sure. Bit of a sucker for those daggers myself. Really good follow-up on this. Command and Conquer coming down for Jake as a follow-up. Really hard to block this one out sometimes post Spider's Bite. Looks like we might be trying. Okay. Once again, that horizontal arsenal.
Reinforce the line.
Sebastian laying that horizontal arsenal every time it's to reinforce the line. Not getting punished by the CNC here. So bit of a awkward use of reinforce the line, to be honest. Not getting maximum value out of that one, but not losing it to the Command and Conquer, which is the most important part.
I think that's the critical thing. Jake really wants to put Sebastian into a position where he's forced to block in a slightly awkward way that is stripping too many cards out of his hand for what his actual game plan. And Sebastian has not been forced into that position very much at all this game, which is a little bit concerning on his side. But that said, the damage has been going through. I mean, we're looking at these life totals. Arakni's on a pretty decent course here. This is what you want to see as the Arakni player. It's maybe not the ideal, but it's not too far off it.
No, for a game where you're staring down 2 items early, this is definitely not a bad situation to find yourself in. 39 life, plenty of breathing room, plenty of deck left to work with, and also finding these defense reactions early to line up with these 4-power gunshots, getting those awkward reds out of your deck, taking no damage in the process.
Indeed, very, very significant.
Sebastian here taking the time to load up their items once again with their spare blues. That that zipper hit, I should say, being banked away for later next to that Tekla core with a little bit more recharging, following up with one more gunshot for good measure. Wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit more of a block here. Arakni not the best at using 4-card hands once those Black Tech Whisperers are gone without coercive tendency.
Indeed. And I think Coercive Tendency, we're very likely to see that saved for a 5-card hand. So I would not be surprised at all to see a block for 3 and possibly even 4 with that Mask Expedition, because Dash is really not going to threaten many on-hits at all in this matchup. We're expecting just raw damage pistol shots. So the sooner you kind of get the value of your Mask Expedition, so you put yourself in a position where if you want to crack it, you can do so without having lost the 1 block value that just comes with it as base. That's what I'd be thinking in Jake's position, but I think he's thinking this one over pretty seriously.
This is some serious deliberation from Jake here. Looks like they might have a somewhat difficult to pass hand. Is this card they're blocking with going to be worth an extra dagger swing in the long term? Those are the kind of decisions you find yourself with in these spots. It can be very hard to evaluate just how much damage one of those daggers can do without knowing your opponent's next hand. Can sometimes make blocking with those extra blues very difficult to figure out.
Yeah, and in some cases, Arakni ends up being a deck with actually not a lot of need for blues. Okay, so I think the deliberation was, do I really want to lose a Leave No Witnesses to this attack? But I think the read here is that, you know what, there's no arsenal in play anyway. So what am I doing sitting on this Leave No Witnesses when it's not even got a target for it?
Totally fair. I think Sebastian's been very good.
Call to make, but it's the right call to make, in my opinion. I like the play.
Yeah, I like it a lot as well. Very heads-up decision from Jake here. Sebastian's been very, very good at keeping that arsenal empty, except for the turns when there's a reinforcer line in it, and that definitely makes Leave No Witnesses look a little bit shaky at best sometimes as well. It is Nerve Scalpel coming in to start here, means we are very likely to see a second dagger swing in the process, once again paid for by that Tunic, a play pattern I really love out of these Assassin decks.
It's just another one of those instances where Tunic goes from saving from... It looks so innocuous. Oh, it's just 1 resource, but just 1 resource here means saving a whole card from hand, which will eventually go into Arsenal here. It is such a powerful equipment, and we really leverage the play patterns very strongly at Assassin. So every 3 turns, free dagger swing. Let's go.
Love to see it. 0 for 4 coming on here once again, threatening that oh my god, words are hard. Contract trigger in this case. Zipper hit found on top. Looked like a red one to me. That's a very interesting choice. I'm not sure if we're going to let Sebastian keep that one on top.
Well, the thing about Reds in this matchup from Dash's perspective is that there's a very specific point in the game that she wants them. Ideally, you should reach this end game point where your pistol's all set up, you're maybe slightly ahead on life total, maybe even at about parity, and you realize, you know what, I'm not too worried about the number of cards left in my deck at this point, because all I need is just a couple of blues to finish out the game. And at that point, you start boosting, you put the pressure on. But Sebastian's making good headway towards that plan happening as we see the second induction chamber hit the board.
That is Voltron assembled in most cases. Some of these lists do pack that extra 5th item, but for the most part, 2 and 2 should be your expectation. They're all safe from being banished from contrasts. The whole engine is online.
I'm a 3 and 3 gamer myself, Scott. You know, if I'm going Voltron, I'm going all in. So, but as you say, this is plenty enough to get the job done. Just this set of items alone, fully loaded and fired in a single turn, can be representing 12 damage without actually removing any cards from the deck from Sebastian's side, which is really significant. This is a big end game we're talking about here.
I want to take a second here to highlight one of the cards Jake has just pitched. A blue copy of Down But Not Out, brand new from Heavy Hitters here. This is a card I actually really love in the Assassin decks because they play Plague Hive. It's a way to actually give your opponent those tokens to turn on that card's extra conditions. Love to see it in Jake's list here.
That is such a spicy pick. I had not even considered that interaction before. That is a fantastic way to leverage that card.
Okay, looks like we are leaning into Warmonger's Diplomacy at the end of this turn following a block. Shahmir, how good is Warmonger's Diplomacy against OG Dash?
It really depends on what point in the game you are and what cards are in their hand. It's not a card that you can say with certainty is going to do a lot in a particular situation. But in this case, for this particular matchup, choosing War for Sebastian's side will mean that he can activate his pistol, either choosing to load it or fire it, but not activate any of his other pistol items, which includes using plasma purifiers and induction chambers or loading them. In other words, choosing War in this case just means we're shooting pistol for 2.
I think we can use induction chamber, right? That one's an attack reaction.
Good catch, good catch. You can in fact activate the induction chamber, my mistake. But purifiers are offline. So we could be seeing as many pistol for 2s as induction chambers are currently loaded. In this case, for example, we could be seeing 2 shots of 2 that would be acceptable under War. Now, if Sebastian decides to choose Peace, on the other hand, we're basically looking at the inverse. He can choose to activate any of his items, including loading up the induction chambers and plasma purifiers. He could choose to use them, but I strongly suspect he would not because there is no way he can activate that pistol to shoot or load this turn.
Interesting dilemma for a spot where so many of these items are already loaded. Looks like we have Jake and Sebastian having the same kind of discussion we just were. Not sure exactly what can be done here. Double checking with that judge. One of the best things you can be doing at a high-level tournament like this one.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about cards where they are central to the metagame, but actually create a little bit of a niche rules interaction here. Well, maybe not niche, but hard to parse at the surface. You certainly need to take time to actually read the card and think about what can I actually activate under each condition. I'm constantly my biggest mistake is I think, oh, you can't load the pistol while under Warmonger's Diplomacy with choosing War because it's not an attack, but it is a weapon action. In which case, you can activate it. So that's my mistake that I constantly fall into. And I'm sure that's one of the aspects that Sebastian is probably trying to clarify.
For sure. Happy to see players taking the time to get this kind of thing clarified here. Warmonger's Diplomacy, certainly not the most simplistic card, especially when you're playing a deck like Dash for Sebastian. So, we obviously don't know exactly what's in Sebastian's hand, but if we had to hesitate a guess here, we've blocked with 1 red, we've got 3 cards to work with, most of our items are already charged. Which way do you think he's likely to go?
I think we're very likely to see War activated here. I think the trouble with activating Peace is that all I could see, well, there's one condition in which we could activate Peace, which I suppose is the high roll situation for Sebastian, in which he can load that induction chamber and then play out another pistol item, because those are both non-attack actions being played or activated, which would be pretty devastating to Jake here. Not really the way you would want to see Dash playing under Warmonger's Diplomacy. However, if that high roll situation isn't in place, I'd expect an choosing War here, in which case we could be starting to see a couple of red cards being boosted out here, or even non-red cards, because being stuck with these 3 cards, the only choice Sebastian would have without actually playing an attack action from hand would be shoot the pistol, give it go again, load it once, shoot it. All of that is manageable under a single red card even, which isn't really making very effective use of his hand. So if he wants to use all of his hand effectively, we are probably seeing him play out some attack actions from hand this turn, quite possibly boosting in the process.
I think that would definitely be an interesting take to see. We've seen Sebastian be quite conservative with their boost effects so far in this game. I think that's a very heads-up decision, and not only because we have all these sync belows and reinforced lines in our deck, but of course Arakni is playing to that game plan of fatiguing us to some extent, and every time we boost an attack, that's an extra card they don't need to find a way to remove from us, even if it is a Mechanologist card. So Sebastian very likely in some kind of bind here. Makes sense why they're asking for so much clarification. Their tournament life, maybe their game in general, could depend on making the right decision here.
Indeed. It's still early in the day for these two players, and being in the 2-0 bracket is a great place to be right now, but hey, why not be in the 3-0 bracket rather than the 2-1 bracket, right? So we're seeing a lot of care at this point in the game, which I think is absolutely where you want to be at an event of this standard.
Makes a lot of sense. You heard it here first, folks. 3-0, better than 2-0 confirmed. Definitely seems like the contention point here does definitely seem to be Teklo Plasma Pistol, which again makes a lot of sense. As you previously alluded to, it's very easy to think you can't load the pistol in certain spots when it actually is a weapon action, which means it kind of circumvents that clause and lets you get away with things maybe you shouldn't be able to if you didn't know any better. So players here just asking for clarification on that situation. Looks like the judge team doing a fantastic job at polishing up exactly what Sebastian is and isn't able to do.
Wonderful stuff. So we're moving ahead by the looks of it with Jake drawing up his next hand. And let's see, I didn't actually catch what Sebastian chose, but it looks like we're going with... Ooh, I think we've gone with Peace.
Interesting.
This is a very interesting play. So the important thing to note with a lot of Dash's items, including her pistol, is that they have this action to put a steam counter on them, but it's not a once per turn action. So Sebastian has opted to choose Peace in this situation, continuously activating the induction chamber to load it, but also to filter out an additional card from his hand by pitching 2 blues in the process, which he's very happy to have on the bottom of his deck, and to increase his draw velocity, make sure he's getting towards the next set of pistol items, or even some red boost attacks, which might start clearing out of the deck.
Shahmir, we can see it. This is a 5-card hand, and I see that coercive tendency. All the tempo bought here for Jake against Sebastian. That Warmonger's shut down a whole turn, and we have a 5-card hand to work with. Is this where the cannons finally let loose?
I should hope so. And we're off to a really good start with Plunder the Poor being the card that starts us off. Of course, the important thing with Coercive Tendency is that you look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and put them back in any order and then banish the top card. But in order to gain Go Again on your assassin attack action cards this turn, you have to fulfill a contract with the card that is banished. So you really want to start this turn off with a very easily fulfilled contract. And in this case, Plunder the Poor is exactly that. There are so many cards with cost 1 or less in Dash's deck. And I think we saw a Spark of Genius on top, which does indeed fulfill that condition.
Spark of Genius was pushed to the bottom here, which is the interesting mind game we see in this matchup. Sebastian may be choosing to defend the top card of their deck a little more aggressively off the back of the fact that it's an unknown one and a relevant card was pushed to the bottom. Jake here now in a bit of a dilemma. Do we fire that Coercive Tendency in the dark? If not, what's our plan?
Indeed, we're checking on a little bit of new information, the ability to take back blocks. I think it's well understood, thankfully, by both players that, hang on, we haven't gained the information here. We can reconsider this situation. And I think Sebastian has the read that there's not much point in blocking this out, which I think is probably the right play here, because there's no world in which Arakni starts with 5 cards in hand and opens up with an attack without Go Again. We're seeing a block 9. I think Sebastian is about to be blown out by our new card, Coercive Tendency. So long as it lands, we are in a fantastic spot for Jake.
This definitely seems like a small misassessment of the situation on Sebastian's half. Arakni kind of known for these buff effects, those cut to the chases, maybe even pummels. So you want to play around those if you're worried about that contract ability being fulfilled. In this case, we circumvent that entirely. We get you to commit too many cards in front of one attack, and we might just get to go exceptionally wide.
And banishing a defense reaction off the top fulfills that Plunder the Poor contract condition, and it is go time. Assassin attack actions this turn have Go Again. and I think there's going to be a few coming out this turn.
Worth knowing here as well, extra silver in the bank does mean those Black Tech Whisperers are going to be coming back at some point later down the line. 0 for 4, go again. This combat chain continues. It's a twin drive we see on top this time. How do you feel about that one?
Opting to leave that one on top is pretty interesting here, considering it actually fulfills neither of the contract conditions that are currently on the board. I wonder if this is... Oh, okay. Sebastian is reeling from the misplay now. It turns out, not playing around the new card will come back to bite you, but it's an absolutely defensible decision from him. I think had this been just a week ago, this card wouldn't have even been on the radar to worry about. But alas, it is release weekend, and Coercive Tendency is here to change the way that Arakni plays.
It's definitely one of those incentives to bring a deck like Arakni to an event like this. We see people talking all the time about playing what you know is good, those consistent decks that are at the top of the meta in a brand new room, so you can kind of pick off and punish those players who are trying to refine the meta and adapt and try new things. But there is always a pro to playing with brand new cards that people haven't had all the time to adapt to just yet, and we see that on our game board right now as Sebastian blocks 9.
Indeed. I think Jake, after passing on the second attack action, I was expecting a little bit more of a push than that. Maybe we decided to push a little bit soon on the Coercive Tendency, but sometimes you got to do what the hand tells you to do, and that could be the position that we were in. I think I spied a yellow shred in hand on that turn, which is particularly awkward when there's a block 9, which a yellow shred does nothing to, followed by a no block, which a shred can't even be applied to.
Yep, Shred looking a little bit temperamental in that particular turn cycle. Looks like we're back to much of the expected on Sebastian's part, soaked up a little bit of damage with our health total, and we're back to stocking up our items and shooting that gun for 4.
Indeed. Oh, and we're blocking with another relatively new card here, this Already Dead, which is maybe a card that won't be... This card is a really interesting one that we won't see shine as much in this matchup, but... It's a really interesting card to pick, and a good pickup for Arakni, just having another high-power contract card.
You do love to see it here. Sebastian, of course, taking their time with those Teklo cores. Again, very happy to pitch these blues away to the end game, where all you'll need is resources to keep turbocharging this gun, making sure that we are as ready for the following turn as we can be in this case. Keep that information as hidden as possible. No need to charge up these items before we've used our second induction chamber. Maybe keep Jake guessing about the possibility of a card like Throttle or something else we want to do with our 2 resources.
Indeed, let's see. I suspect one of them will go back into the pistol to turn this into that 12 damage turn that we've discussed as being a pretty impressive endgame output at this point in the game. So we're seeing one go into the pistol, into a red zipper hit, and boosting. Oh, yes, we have decided this is the point in the game at which we need to be putting on the pressure. We can let go of the cards in deck and just be willing to push really condensed damage into this turn. So overall, this is looking at a 17 damage turn out of Dash. Not bad at all.
This is very impressive. Foot down, gas up is definitely a plan of action for Dash as the end game draws near, and we are definitely at that point where we have to start pushing that damage through here. Jake has done an incredible job at remaining resilient. 36 life to play with still here. Has been protecting it like it's the only thing that matters. Sebastian realizing it's time to change that status quo.
I think in your average game of Flesh and Blood, if you see these life totals, you are thinking, how is Jake not miles ahead right now? But the Dash matchup in this situation is anything but the average game of Flesh and Blood.
Whole hand being used to soak up damage here. That plan of action continuing. Very interested to see whether or not that Arsenal card is maybe a Codex, perhaps, or whether we're just passing straight back. Looks like the latter in this case.
Indeed. The risk here now is that Sebastian ends up with a blue-heavy hand with which he's capable to completely reload the pistol items and maybe just run that kind of turn cycle that we just saw back again. That would probably be the worst-case scenario for Jake here.
It's definitely one of the appeals to playing a hero like Dash. It's very, very rare that you can't just use all the resources you have left over. There's so many things to spend them on, and it's one of those few heroes that drawing an all-blue hand can sometimes be actively a good thing.
We're doing some quick maths on our resource count here and our item activations. Another finicky part of playing Dash, but hey, you've got to get it right. This is one situation where it really pays off to be particular with the details.
Certainly does. Plasma Purifiers here being activated, churning that gun back up to 4. Gunshot coming in. Once again, 2 cards in hand. Plenty of things that could happen from here. Jake's going to have a lot of decision trees to figure out what his turn needs to start looking like.
Indeed. I think Jake is at this point in the game now where if he starts just blocking out entirely, that each turn where he just blocks out is a losing turn cycle for him. So he no doubt recognizes that he has to start pushing back. And finding the opportunity with which to do so is critical here. So I think we might see some damage taken in this turn. I think I spy another coercive tendency in hand. But we might be a little bit more deliberate about when we use this one. I get the feeling this one is going to wait until we see multiple, like 3 or more assassin attack actions in hand.
Definitely seems like the kind of hand that's a little bit awkward to make use of that new specialization. I think that's a Command and Conquer and a Shred as a partnership next to it, neither of which are particularly synergistic with Arakni's new spec. More gunshots coming in, more cards going in the way in the name of fodder, just soaking up as much damage as we can here. Wouldn't be shocked, as you say, to see that coercive tendency held onto and try to be banked in that arsenal for a bigger turn.
Indeed, I think with the way these blocks have played out, we're looking more likely at pitching that coercive tendency away and leveraging our tunic resource to throw a Command and Conquer after we have sent in a Spider's Bite. We've seen this play pattern before. It's been blown out a couple of times by Sebastian, but I think at this point we might be out of Reinforce the Lines, at which point defending it becomes a little bit tougher.
Interesting point of note here as well. Jake has 2 silver in play, has done for a few turns, and yet we find those Black Tech Whisperers are still tucked away in the graveyard. Is that the kind of card you're looking to rebuy at a certain point during the game, or are you normally just burning your silver as soon as you're able?
I think in highly aggressive matchups where you really value the reacquisition of armor from buying back equipment, you would see them bought back almost instantly. But here, this is a slow game where every resource really matters. And I think it's I think in Jake's shoes, I would be thinking that I really need to focus on the ability to attack the deck effectively and push to an end game in which I am ahead. I'm not sure if Black Tech Whisperers do the job for me here. If they do, and I draw a hand in which that happens, okay, I can make that decision then. But if I find that this is about cards in deck, I'd be much happier that I saved the silver and made the decision that actually maybe this time I need Mask of Perdition back instead of Black Tech Whisperers.
That is some exceptionally forward thinking. Crown of Providence being cashed in on that previous turn cycle to play around that CNC. A little bit of damage taken to mitigate keeping a whole hand here, but we're seeing that kind of play pattern come back once again. These blues just charging up all these items, presenting an absurd amount of damage without spending any cards to do it.
Yep, it's we're already seeing the life total turn around pretty quickly. I think Jake has really struggled with attacking the arsenal successfully in this game, and that is one of the things that Assassin really does best. So if you're not doing it effectively, it really hurts. You can feel it, and you can see it in the outcome of the game as well. So, but let's see. There's still enough time in this game that he can turn it around. We're again going with a pretty conservative block. In fact, offering up a red cut to the chase here, which is a pretty significant card with which to push damage, but clearly deciding it's more important to just slow this game down a little bit.
For sure. Jake comes across as a very experienced Arakni player in this situation, so I'm likely to trust that they know what they're doing, but these gunshots do put on a heck of a lot of pressure as the game continues. They are doing a great job at sneaking their way through towards that life total from Sebastian here. 17 is not actually that much to work with if you can set up one of those big turns, and I feel like that's what we're going to need at this point to take away a handful of blue cards.
Okay, we're double checking the resource mats there. Loading up an induction chamber. Yeah, just double checking life total, double checking resource counts. This is really important at this stage of the game where the details matter a lot.
Every resource becomes worth so much when it comes to charging an item, recharging the gun, maybe just making the best use of the cards you have in your hand. Makes sense these players are taking all the time they need and are offered in a tournament like this to make sure they get it right. It looks like we have this pistol shot sneaking its way through. Jake keeping 3 cards in hand and an arsenal. Looks like we are looking to turn the corner somewhat.
Indeed, which is pretty intriguing given that we just blocked with a big attack reaction. I wonder how this turn might look. I wonder if we might end up seeing possibly another Sigil of Solace as kind of our way of utilizing all the cards in our hand. That's my suspicion from the outset.
Unfortunately, this looks like it was more a case of necessity than want. Plague Hive and Sigil of Solace, 2 cards that notoriously don't block, and makes it rather hard for you to use them in any other way. We are going to be sending in Annihilate the Armed for 5 in this case, and likely popping that sigil to gain a little bit of that lost life back.
Indeed. The inertia token here is probably not the one that, well, maybe not Jake's favorite here. I think a Bloodrot Pox representing some damage could be significant. Indeed, there's the Sigil of Solace played out. A Bloodrot Pox here could present a little bit more damage, or a Frailty token could prevent some damage coming back at him. And inertia is kind of, well, if Sebastian finds a way to use his arsenal, it actually might have no impact on the game, clearly visible impact on the game at this point whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely feels like a bit of a loss of a 1 in 3 there for Jake. We do send our way back to Sebastian. Once again, that full kind of hand of cards to work with, be that for charging up these items or starting to send in those boost attacks as this game draws down to an end. Very much looking forward to seeing how they manage their turn this time. Got to start feeling their deck is mostly blue pitch at this point.
That's exactly where you want to be as Dash at this point in the game. In fact, you are quite deliberately trying to block with or play out your red attack actions earlier in the game so that you can be sure that when you start drawing hands in the late game, each of them is capable of representing at least 4 damage, if not more than that, thanks to the activation of your plasma purifiers.
Very well managed by Sebastian as this game goes on. It's those same purifiers that are being activated, charged up, gunshot for 4. Definitely a play pattern we're super familiar with at this point. Jake, 21 life at this point, still plenty of breathing room, most of that armor available still if required. A lot of difficult decisions in the coming turns as to when they pick their fight on a turn that can really change the tide here.
Indeed. Deliberate decision-making process on exactly what to block with. I think I spy a couple of powerful cards in Jake's hand, but he might struggle to use them effectively while he is lacking go again. We could see the Black Tech Whisperers brought back this turn to try and facilitate that. Let's see.
Certainly some interesting ones as options by the looks of it. Cut to the Chase, Red, Spreading Plague, Codex of Frailty. Not a lot of attack actions to work with, but definitely some powerful cards. That Mask of Perdition finally being cashed in. Maybe that's the one we're looking to rebuy instead.
Indeed, it could be at this point.
How's it go again?
Unsurprisingly, more steam-powered bullets coming in down this combat chain for Sebastian.
Oh, this is really significant. I don't know if we caught this, but Sebastian has just gone ahead with a T-bone while leaving the chain open, forcing Jake to block with one of these blade break equipment that he has left. I don't think this is the point in the game in which he wants to be blocking with them, but he's forced to offer up the tunic here because T-bone demands it.
That is an exceptional play from Sebastian and very much a punish for finally cashing in at that Mask of Perdition. One of those 2 valuable pieces of equipment lost in a spot where I'm sure Jake would rather have kept it ticking. A little bit of damage leaks over 2, and a really good turn cycle here for Sebastian.
Indeed. Gosh, Jake's had a lot of things not go his way in this one, but it's still looking like an astonishingly close game. I think this is a real testament to where Arakni is after the printing of Coercive Tendency. I mean, this is a matchup which, prior to that card existing, I mean, it would just be miserable. You could be an expert pilot and still just find yourself completely unable to navigate it, but just with one played this game, we already saw a really significant impact on that first Coercive Tendency played that forced some damage through on the turn.
Safe to say both of these players have navigated this game extremely well. Fantastic understanding of the matchup on display. A little bit of damage being leaked through here from these Teklo Plasma Pistol shots. Looks like we're maybe choosing to pick a little bit of a fight here, as for the first time this game, Jake is going down below Sebastian on life total.
Indeed, we're getting to that scrappy end game now, which is going to be really interesting to see. I'm not sure how Jake is going to leverage his hand, but I look forward to seeing it.
For sure. We do have that third and final Codex of Frailty in hand, and that is certainly, arguably, Arakni's most powerful card. Definitely one we're looking to put together to punish those pistol shots with another Frailty token and rebuy one of our best attacks at the same time. Looking forward to seeing whether or not we can leverage it this turn, depending on what it is in our arsenal.
Indeed, this is another one of those spots where you look at Arakni with 2 cards in hand and a contract effect. You're thinking they definitely have an attack reaction. Well, in this case, we are seeing a Coercive Tendency played. Oh, this is brilliant. We're seeing a Coercive Tendency played out, which is going to work fantastically with that Codex of Frailty that is in hand, so long as he can fulfill the condition to give this card go again.
That's what we're hoping to see. Basically using Coercive Tendency here as a glorified Razor Reflex in a way to kind of enable a following turn of another play to really push home the damage in this spot. Earning a block on this attack does seem super relevant. We're going to banish that 0 to 60, earn ourselves some silver. Time to hopefully get to work with this Codex.
Indeed, banishing an Underloop afterwards. We've got 4 silver in play at this point, really quite respectable, followed by a Codex of Frailty. I mean, Sebastian is going to lose yet another card from hand and be forced to place one in Arsenal, where no doubt there's a Leave No Witnesses that is going to come and try and attack it.
This was very much the kind of turn Jake needed to re-establish a foothold in this game. Ponders and Frailties making themselves known. I'm looking forward to seeing what attack we are grabbing here. With no resources floating, you have to assume it's that Leave No Witnesses.
Indeed, it always is. There's nothing better than saying, hey, I'll help you out. Have the best card from your graveyard and put it in your arsenal. By the way, you have to defend it now, or you're losing it for good.
Looks like Sebastian here taking the time to deliberate what card they want to get back into their arsenal. And this is a very real decision at this point in the game. So many cards in that graveyard, so many attacks as options. Do you pick one that you're happy to be cleared out by Leave No Witnesses, or do you pick one that you're willing to pick a fight over?
Indeed. I think that the struggle here a little bit is that because Jake has no cards in hand, I think we're going to see some equipment cashed in here to block, because this is one of those times where you do want to protect that card that you just brought back.
Small little things here, but I love Jake's character. Already knew the cards that were on top of the deck thanks to that previous Coercive Tendency and couldn't get it out of his mouth quickly enough. Bottom, without looking at the card. Just get rid of it. I know that I don't want it there. I love to see it.
Get it out of here.
Fantastic turn cycle here for Jake. That Ponder buying an Arsenal, restocking the hand. Sebastian now taking the time to take a look at everything that is in that graveyard. What is left? I believe all of the tendencies are gone. All of the codexes are gone. And that's a fantastic sign when you still have 16 life to play with.
I think there's one tendency still in deck, as I recall one was pitched to play a Command and Conquer earlier in the game.
Interesting.
But it is pretty deep down the pitch stack, so we'll see if Jake can even leverage it that late in the game. That's the tricky part. We also, towards the end of that turn, saw a little heads-up play that suggests the kind of direction of this game is changing in Jake's mind. We saw the Mask of Perdition activated and destroyed, despite its on-hit not actually going through because the attack was fully blocked out by Sebastian. And I think that's recognizing that, you know what, I don't care about cards in deck nearly as much anymore because that's not the game plan anymore. I need to preserve life. So I'm going to cash in this 4 silver as soon as I can and buy back both my equipment.
Very heads-up play.
We saw that next turn.
This is a fantastic line as well here from Sebastian, choosing to not spend too much of their resources on their gunshots this turn while afflicted with Frailty. We're just going to get those Plasma Purifiers charged up ready for next time and send in a Zipper hit that is still presenting a breakpoint.
Indeed. I think Zipper hit was a fantastic pickup there as opposed to something like 0 to 60, which would not have attacked that breakpoint. We're sacrificing one resource, which could have gone into a pistol item, but we're pushing one more damage in the process, which is really significant.
Love to see it. Finally, those equipment being rebought, silver cashed in, payday is afoot. We'll kit ourselves back out with Black Tech Whisperers and a Mask of Perdition. Jake here with a relatively full hand to use. I look forward to seeing if they can make those Black Techs go to work straight away, right after an Enlightened Strike.
Coming in for 7 here, rather than what we might expect the usual kind of 5 go again. I think that is, there's a Sigil in hand to complement it. That's the kind of play pattern that we would expect. Also, as an aside, I love that as Jake pulls his equipment back into play, he says, spend my money. Hey, if you got it, spend it.
Spend it. Gotta flaunt it. Love to see it. Yep, another one of those things. I love the play pattern Sigil of Solace offers to these assassin decks. As an opponent against these decks, you have to be so considerate of all the attack reactions, all these combat tricks that can wreak havoc with your following turn. And when the opponent gets to bluff those for free by holding those sigils, it's a very powerful play.
Absolutely, but we are. It's looking like Sebastian might be in the driver's seat at this point in the game. We're still getting to hold multiple cards in play, no Frailty in play right now, and we are sending a lot of pistol shots this turn, which are double purified, coming in for that 4 breakpoint.
It is that repeated play pattern, 12 damage every turn, steam-powered bullets, pressuring our favorite assassin from the spider, of course. And maybe you're an Azuri fan, that's up to you. Looking like a bit of a tough one for Jake in this situation, and definitely a testament to how strong finding those early items was for Sebastian.
Indeed, I could not have imagined many situations in which this game could have gone better for Sebastian. The only one which was a truly massive blowout for him was that first coercive tendency turn, which was quite a sight to see for us. But he's recovered from it fantastically. I mean, this is, again, a testament to the way that both of these players know their decks and know their role in the matchup and are capable of pivoting on a dime to understanding this is what I need to be doing to win the game.
Speaking of pivot, Jake knows it's time to pick a fight. The armor gone, all the other damage taken. We're keeping all of our cards here. What can we do with them? We're starting on an Enlightened Strike. Is this one grab and go again? Looks
like it to
like
me.
it. Okay.
Spark of Genius on the block. Yep, that one has served its use at this point. The pistol items are in play. We don't need more at this point.
We are well back into those cards we saw Jake bottoming with Arakni earlier on. Spark of Genius delayed for what it was worth and stopped it from coming down early in a spot where it might have mattered, now being used as nothing but cheap block fodder. This Leave No Witnesses not at its best here with no arsenal to threaten, but it is still a 0 for 4.
Yeah, I think we're looking at every point of damage mattering at this point in the game. So life totals are still very close, 13 to 11 here. Just double checking those life totals. Yep, so life totals are extremely close. Decks are also looking very thin, but admittedly, what's concerning at this point is when the life totals are this low, the fatigue doesn't so much come by damage. It comes by, well, I suppose it does come by damage. It comes by you blocking your opponent's attacks because they threaten lethal.
Yes.
I think that might be the position in which Jake is in. That is what we call fatigue by damage. Words are hard.
Yeah, for sure. Something that I like to refer to as proactive fatigue instead of reactive fatigue. And it's definitely one of the main reasons. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely one of the main draws to playing a deck like Arakni. You can just buckle up, block down, put those block threes and defense reactions in the way and burn through your opponent's deck that way. But when the time comes, it's those contract effects that let you not only push damage, but force your opponent to block with more cards and proactively fatigue them that way.
Well, here's a way to push some damage. There's that red cut to the chase, which has been sitting in Arsenal for a little while now. Pretty effective use here. We got that 3 damage is all going through from the reaction, which is what you want at this point in the game. The banish doesn't matter so much, but 3 damage matters a lot.
Love to see that. Another high octane being eaten. None of those we're going to be seeing this game by the looks of it, as another goes to the banish zone. Scores a silver for the trouble. Sebastian doing a relatively good job at keeping 2 cards here. That is enough to send at least a couple gunshots back at Jake in retaliation for a turn that has leveled those life totals.
And Jake is already ready to start blocking. He recognizes that, yep, we are going to... Oh, the players are moving with lightning speed at this point, clearly cognizant of the clock. These are the shortcuts that you need to make this kind of matchup work. Taking 4 more, so we've taken 5 damage overall on this turn cycle.
This is lightning reflexes here. As you say, both these players are obviously very, very aware that, well, the pressure is on, time is coming, we need to end this game one way or the other. Jake knows cards have to be spent to stay alive here and survive these steam-powered gunshots. Managing to keep 2 cards looks like the threat will be presenting Warmonger's Diplomacy here. Is that enough to buy an entire turn cycle?
It's a pretty fantastic time for it because Sebastian is pretty much forced to choose peace and just entirely load up his pistol items. He's not entirely opposed to that game plan, but that means Jake is getting to keep a 5-card hand in here. And I get the feeling that last coercive tendency might be in that hand unless we blocked with it.
Jake doing their best to keep a full hand, be able to hopefully turn the tides of battle here. Warmongers buying you that breathing room in the final moments of battle. We're pitching away Eradicate here to start things off on a nerve scalpel. Not the strongest start, but any defense reactions that are left are going to be minimized as a result. I'm not sure this was the turn that Jake was hoping to find as a follow-up. 2 dagger swings and already dead is not particularly bad, but pitching away all 3 Eradicates, 3 yellows you couldn't attack with, not exactly the kind of efficient turn you were looking for when you gave yourself so much breathing room.
That one is particularly brutal. I think he was really hoping that there might be a couple of 0 costs in there so we could kind of spew off a few attack actions in a row, but instead we were looking at the kind of classical play pattern of dagger attack, and I don't know if that's enough to cross the line at this point in the game.
Just not enough damage presented to take all of Sebastian's cards away, so we again see this endgame, the ultimate endgame of Dash. The reason to play this deck, just 4, unrelenting damage that requires you to spend no cards, and with so few things to work with and so little life to take as a cushion, Jake is forced to get in the way of these.
There are a few other decks that I see presented endgame like this, but I know one is a specialty of yours, good old Iris Dromai. But as you say, this is one of the reasons to play the deck. There are so few decks that have access to this kind of pressure late in the game without costing a single card. I mean, Sebastian is just blocking and pitching and blocking and pitching, and Jake is completely up against the wall as a result.
We're forced down to a Spider's Bite into a 0 for 4 off the play, Kayo. I've never seen someone picking up cards so quickly in this case. A single point of life to play with, and unfortunately, this is nowhere near enough damage to be threatening Sebastian's hand. This is a lot of gunshots.
Offered, and it is over. What an incredible game from these two players. I've got to say, this is not the matchup that you want to see as Arakni walking into this game, but they have done a fantastic job, both of them, of navigating this game plan, making it a genuinely very close game in what is usually an unfavored matchup for Arakni. Incredible stuff on display.
Honestly, love to see the handshake at the end there. Both players clearly having a fantastic time. Incredibly well-navigated game. And congratulations go to Sebastian in that case. Moving on to 3-0 on Dash. Commiserations to Jake, but you've won over another Arakni fan here. I'm hoping the event goes well for you one way or the other.
I'm rooting for Jake. I want to see an Arakni. I mean, I think we'd all love to see an Arakni going deep into the event. That would be quite the spectacle out of the release of heavy hitters.
Love to see some of those new cards on display already. Well, that's going to be all for round 3 of this event. It's been spectacular to have you joining us. If you've enjoyed myself, Howling Minds, you can find more of me over on Channel Fireball. That's where most of my work goes, or TCG Player Infinite for all things flesh and blood. If you enjoy articles, Shahmir, where can people find you if they want a little bit more of the devilishly handsome man himself?
Devilishly handsome. You're too kind, Scott. Well, if you're interested in my casting services, or in fact my coaching services, then please reach out to me at Shahmir Samee on X, I guess we call it at this point. And I would love to chat with you and help you up your game in preparation for the upcoming ProQuest and RTN seasons.
He's really good at card games, and you should definitely check that out. But until next time, that has been Shahmir Samee. I have been Howling Minds, and you have been amazing. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to round 4 of Battle Hardened Hartford. You probably don't recognize us. My name is Spencer. A lot of the PDX area calls me Stuart. This is Zach. He is one of our favorite local armory losers. And we are super excited to be here and just kind of help him put the PDX area a little bit on the map and cast some games for you guys. And we're going to be starting with round 4. Zach, anything to say? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited. A little nervous. Don't know why. They won't see our face. Yep. But I'm looking forward to helping out Savage Feats, and bear with us as we get through this first round. You'll see us in round 4 and round 6.
Awesome.
So, appreciate it.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Let's jump straight into round 4. And here we are jumping into round 4 of Battle Hardened Hartford, where in round 4 we've got Matt on Victor sitting at 3-0, and Yuki Bender, crowd favorite, sitting at 3-0 on Kayo.
KO, 2 brand new heroes from the set, making it 3-0.
Very excited to get these brand new heroes on camera at our first post heavy hitters constructed event, or I guess there was a constructed event in Manila, but now we've got this Battle Hardened as well. So I'm super excited, Zach, to watch these 2 heroes in action. I'm somewhat familiar with Victor. He's kind of, a guardian that's piquing my interest. I've never really touched the class before. I know you're a bit of a brute player yourself.
I guess you can call me that.
Sure.
I'm a Leviathan player that dies to blood debt 99% of the time type of player. So.
Right. Well, Matt, we see, went first. He made a seismic, arsenal to guard, and passed. A pretty typical Guardian turn 1. Doesn't give Yuki the opportunity to filter, and we didn't see any instance at the end of Matt's turn, which is there certainly was a possibility there was with these new cards like Agile Wind-Up.
Agile Wind-Up, huge. Mighty Wind-Up, I guess, maybe not so big.
Still +2 value.
Still +2 value.
Makes 2 might tokens.
A little bit of spice. What are we pitching for here?
Yuki's first turn of the game, we see a blue Wild Ride. Now
that's a blue Rile Up. Good,
blue
sir.
Riled Up. See, I'm not the brute player. He's the brute player. So we see the blue Riled Up, and Yuki. Do we think that Yuki has to think very much about her pitch deck here? I'm sure she
probably is.
Maybe. I'm not sure. All I'm looking at right now is that swing big on the table.
Big ol' swing big, just to
Turn
start.
0, turn 1, excuse me. Turn 1, swing big. Really just going for it. I guess going back to your question on the pick stack, though, uncertain if Kayo cares as much as Reinhardt did. Definitely, I guess if Victor's going into a fatigue, maybe you want to put a late game cast bones, maybe with all of those 6s to just kind of come in for something plus that 7 might token with go again.
Right.
Never fun to see when you're on the end of that. Nathan did that to me at our local armory a few days ago. That was fun.
Yeah. So Matt's thinking quite a bit about this block on the swing big here. I'm curious if there's any world we see Victor actually utilize these Quicken tokens. We see cards like Trounce and Clash of Vigor that make things much cheaper for Victor to do on his own turn. So maybe there is a world where these Quickens are relevant.
So we do see the... Is that a Trounce?
Yes, we see a Trounce. The double clash.
Oof. The Pat
Matt
call.
taking away the first one, and Matt taking away the second one.
I do believe that Agile Windup is a 6. But
Blue Agile Windup is a 5, buffed by KO's ability to 6.
Right.
And we see that Victor shows that.
Is that disable?
7.
Blue a 7?
Blue disable 7.
Don't listen to me.
That's okay. So Matt is very happy to get all these tokens here. He draws that card due to Victor's ability, a very cool ability. When you create a gold from an effect you control, you draw a card.
Yeah, I guess
Very fancy tokens over here from Matt. Just gonna have.
Yeah, we can briefly discuss it for those that maybe don't know Victor. His hero card states the first time each turn you create a gold token from an effect, draw a card, and the first time you would fail to win a clash, you can destroy a gold and put one of the revealed cards on the bottom of its owner's deck, then clash again.
Yes. So gold has kind of 2 uses in Victor. We see the re-rolling those clashes.
For sure.
But we also see his specialization, Golden Sun, where whenever you cast it, you can destroy a gold you control, and it gains +3 in overpower. So a great finisher that Victor has access to.
This is for sure coming in for 6? Oh, he drew a card. Okay.
Wow. So
drew a card, got the +1 from the might, the quicken, as you just said, definitely just was used there, being able to draw a card, and that's 3 cards in hand, so don't even necessarily have to just come in for the Miller's Grindstone.
Yeah, we could see something as large as like a Chokeslam or maybe a Golden Sun using that gold. So. Now, I was wondering earlier, is Quicken, does Victor care about Quicken? Is he able to utilize Quicken? Any deck with E-Strike in it is
utilizing a Quicken.
Definitely able to utilize the Quicken.
Coming in for 6, and Yuki just took it.
Yep.
So let's see what Matt follows up with.
I think Yuki is probably counting on there being some sort of disruption coming behind this. You know, Victor's pool of disruption isn't as deep as someone like a Bravo with Starstruck and Crippling Crush, but he does have access to things like Chokeslam, things like Debilitate. And there's the disable.
There's the disable. Is that the Arsenal?
Yes, threatening to the crush effect on there. If it deals 4 or more damage, Yuki's Arsenal will move to the bottom of her deck. So Yuki, especially if she likes that Arsenal card, is incentivized to block here. And we see
using the Bone Breaker for the first time, creating that Might token.
Apex Bone Breaker, a new legendary from Heavy Hitters. When you defend with a 6-power attack alongside the Apex Bone Breaker, it'll make a Might token with it. So just
with temper. That's the important part.
So 2 uses out of it. That's a pretty high value piece of equipment when you factor in the damage that you're getting from that Might.
All right, so it creates another Might and an agility off of blue agility. Bear Fangs, obviously hitting, coming in for 6 +2 +1, coming in for 9.
Very, Yuki is very happy with this turn cycle, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. Create a Might and an agility, and then just throw a 9.
Yeah, sets up a super powerful next turn and throws 9. It doesn't get much better than that.
I think that was, I thought when Yuki just threw that card up, I thought that was the Pack Hunt? The one that's 2 for 6 that intimidates. I thought I saw the bonfire.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong. I probably am. Oh, clashing.
Clash.
Oh, is that a 7?
Prime Defy, I believe, is a 9.
Not Jeez. Okay, so wins that one
Definitely
for sure.
a win on Victor's side.
Gets the
Now,
might.
Victor has been pretty happy with these clashes so far due to Kayo's ability where all of Kayo's attack action cards get +1 as long as they are not on the combat chain. That applies to, very importantly, Clash. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Yuki winning some of these clashes, but so far things haven't quite gone in her favor.
Choke Slam coming in for 9. This is the one where they cannot gain attack,
Yes.
I believe, on the next turn.
Attack action cards cannot gain power greater than their base.
You want to know what sucks? Having a Blood Rush in your hand when this gets thrown at you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Doesn't feel good.
Totally turns off that blood rush.
And they always seem to have it when you have a Blood Rush. Found that out. So we see a Beast within.
We see a face-down card that Yuki seems pretty happy to get rid of, but is just thinking of that second card to turn off this crush effect. Because even if Yuki had a Bare Fangs, it'll turn off Bare
Turns
Fangs.
off Bare Fangs.
That's a very relevant hit outside of just Blood Rush. And it'll turn off the Might tokens.
Oof, double Beast within hand. You don't love to see it.
And Yuki would love to do something significant on her turn. Taking the crush effect. So Yuki says,
There is no Blood Rush, or if there is, I'm not going to use it this turn.
And going to nullify the Might token as well. Just, 1 damage that's going away. But Yuki may not even care.
Still has the agility. Maybe, and with these new tokens, I would forget that doesn't. Oh no! So the might still works here. Might still works here. Comes in for 4. So getting around that crush effect, being like, I don't care. The might's gonna affect my claw, and we'll do something afterwards.
We see Matt. He's doing the same thing we're doing, being like, "Dang, Yuki is a good player." Just doing those small things to maintain that value, because that sort of incremental value, and giving it up and throwing it away. That's how you lose versus Guardians that are just looking for that turn over turn value.
Taking none.
Taking one here.
Sorry, that's not a block card. Oh, creating agility on the back end.
And another might, setting up for that next turn. And a cast bonus.
Here we go.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Flip them.
Risk it.
And those are all sixes.
Those are all 6s.
Oh, man. So Yuki is going to be going into her next turn.
So that'll be seven might tokens with another agility. The agility doesn't necessarily matter. Two agilities. Unfortunately, doesn't work like the Spellbound Creepers.
Those are just the 6 mites. Just the 6 mites. She did not discard. She did not get a might from Kayo's ability this
But
turn.
there was I thought that the yellow agile windup was discarded this turn.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So it should be 7.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It should be. It should be 7 might, ideally.
So Matt is taking a look at all these top cards here. Now, Cast Bones does say that these cards are going to go into onto the top of the deck in a random order.
Where did that second Cast Bones come from? 1, 2, 3. Oh, the Cast Bones was one of the ones that they that was shown. So it would be 6 might.
Oh, it was shown.
It was shown.
Oh,
okay. Jeez, Louise missed that one.
But there's 2 agilities. Where'd the second agility come from? Well, the players know what they're doing, so I'll trust that they're accurately representing the board state.
We're probably confused.
Yeah.
So draw 4 of those.
Okay. So we see 2 yellows pitched for Debilitate. So Debilitate, our crush effect on here is the first attack is going to have -2 if the crush comes off. But when Yuki is coming in with 6 might tokens, the -2, significant, but not quite as significant as it would be.
I'll say this, the Cast Bones, I had to look it up. If you control 6 or more might tokens, create agility. So created not necessarily off the card, just in general.
I see.
So look at us. Looking up cards.
Learning new things, learning new cards.
Shout out Fabry.
Shout out Fabry.
Okay, so blocking for 5.
So Yuki does not want to give up that -2 damage due to the Debilitate Crush effect.
All right, so this is going to be 6 mites with go again. This isn't going to feel good. Mm-hmm. Let's see what we got. Now the question is there Bare Fangs in there? It'd be incredible. Or Swing Big. Swing Big doesn't feel good with 6 extra power on it either.
Now, Victor does not have an arsenal going into this turn.
Oh, runner. Huge.
Wow.
Huge. Creating the agility on the back end.
Yeah.
Coming in for 12. Just a big yuck.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Yep.
Matt, Love that face. You don't like to see it. It's okay. We're with you, buddy.
Runner, absolutely fantastic for just being able to keep up the pressure turn over turn. Kayo hates going into a turn without an agility token most times,
Right.
and runner just, you don't have to rely on what your next hand is or if you see another agile windup or anything like that. It's just
One of those new hybrid cards. I don't know how happy Warrior is exactly to see that, but Brute pretty gassed.
Yes.
Pretty gassed.
Yuki has 2 more cards behind us. We may see a claw. We may see something a lot scarier than a claw.
If that's a blue and you have a 2-cost in Arsenal, you could pitch the blue, go claw into another attack for a little mini blood rush.
Right. And there are several 3-cost attacks, and we do have Tunic up, so there's a lot on the table possible here for Yuki.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take 4. And a swing big.
That feels pretty good.
Interesting. I wonder... Well, no, actually, I don't think it matters which one you throw first. Potentially.
Making sure that Quicken gets made in case it's relevant.
Could get the Quicken.
Now, we do see that, and I think you're right, I think I just saw that is a pack hunt. Yuki really sitting on that, trying to make sure...
Interesting.
Cards that just say Intimidate on them into the Guardian matchup can certainly be important.
Getting rid of a Golden Sun there.
Okay.
Getting the Quicken. So used up a lot of equipment on that turn. I mean, I'd say that's equipment well used. A Cast Bones turn and a Swing Big coming away only losing, I think, 2 health. I think it was at 34.
Right.
So,
and we saw Matt very effectively use that Quicken token with the E-Strike. So he's probably happy to take that Quicken once again
100%.
and bet on something similar happening.
So let's see. Pitching for what, Yuki? Thinking. Out of all the matches that I've watched Yuki on, she has one of the most intense, think tank faces.
Sure, absolutely. And we see Pulping come out.
Okay.
Great card versus these Guardians to force through some damage.
Almost always going to hit.
CNC.
CNC creates that might token off the back end, so this gains Dominate. So doesn't even matter if you can cover it up with, say, a blue unmovable. That's one card. Still gets go again.
And Pulping, historically versus Guardians, is a card that can get stuffed pretty easily because of how, prominent cards like Sync, Feint, Fate, sometimes Unmovable, sometimes Staunch are in Guardian lists. But most Victor lists that we've seen so far are dropping those D-Reacts in favor of the 0 for 4 block cards like Test of Strength.
Right.
So much less likely that these Pulpings get stuffed by a D-React sitting in Arsenal when your opponent is Victor.
Because you want to know what D-Reacts don't do? They don't win clashes.
True, absolutely. So we see the pack hunt finally come out.
I think that was one that Yuki had in hand because still has the Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. You are right there.
It'd be truly unfortunate if that Arsenal was a blue pack hunt. I don't know if KO's running the blue pack hunts. Better cards.
Matt still has 2 cards to block here, so the pack hunt isn't really forcing through the damage that it might sometimes. Or Matt just might say no blocks. He might really like one of those cards.
Ooh, CNC. Interesting. I believe that's the second CNC we've seen him block with, so that's only one CNC pummel if Victor does that, as all Guardians do. Everyone's favorite play to run into.
And Yuki clearing up the life totals here a little bit, getting them a little bit closer.
A little bit closer. Oh, just kidding. Doesn't matter.
Seismic CNC.
Seismic CNC.
Still quite a bit of block on this equipment here, or Yuki could just, KO has these powerful 5-card hands, but, there's also a card called Bare Fangs that is one of the strongest, 2-card hands that KO has access to.
Interesting.
So we see the two come down, so we may see just a powerful 2-card hand, we may see something a little trickier.
Might.
Yep.
There it is.
2 for 9.
2 for 9, another might on the back end. You know that guy, I think he does the Clorox commercials where he goes, that's a lot of damage.
Yes, absolutely. Flex tape.
Flex Seal. Flex Seal.
Well, I think it's both.
It might be both. Not
sponsored,
but could be.
Yeah.
But could
Let
be.
us know.
Ethan?
Let Ethan know. Yeah.
Call him up, dude.
All right, but 2-card 9, and creating another might.
Okay, blocking for 6, taking 3, and just like that, life totals.
Nice and even.
Nice and even. Seismic pops. The debilitate. -2 on the first attack if it hits.
Now, I do believe that is the second Bear Fangs, so the likelihood we see another 2-card block into a Bear Fangs is low, but hey, it's possible, Yuki could be very happy just to continue these 2-card hands.
Pack Hunt, is that third runner behind the Pack Hunt?
I think that is correct. We'll let Yuki think about this one a little bit.
I feel like that Zach Galifianakis meme where all the numbers are around his head,
Oh, yeah.
Just really
I think that's just
really
Yuki's state of being with how much,
so serene.
With how amazing
Calm,
she
cool,
is
and
at this
collected.
game.
Calm, cool, and collected.
So we see the 2-card block. Do we see a strong 2-card
Play
here? Tunic gets ticked up.
And that red Pack Hunt.
Okay. Pack Hunt for 7, intimidating. Now, I mean, the value that Intimidate brings into this matchup, if it hits a block card, is
great.
Is crazy.
It's great. We love to see it.
If, this intimidates a block card, you can't... you can arsenal block cards, but you can't play them if they get stuck in that arsenal there.
Have I arsenal a block card before and then just auto-conceded because I realized I couldn't do anything? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So if Yuki does hit a block card, that's a lot of value. That red probably just gets pitched into Tectonic, and our Victor players get real sad about doing that. Or it doesn't hit a block card and matches blocks.
Right. So let's see. Thinking of the block, but also thinking, do I care? Can I throw some Unga Bunga Guardian nonsense?
And while it's a little bit less significant in KO, we have not seen any blood rushes
No blood
in this
rushes.
game, and with the life totals
is that?
where they're at. This is
Clash
a
of
Clash of
Vigor?
Vigor, yes.
Well, Blood Rush
Yuki
doesn't win that.
Seeing
but
that blood rush.
unfortunate. I'd say that is one of the variances of Clash that you give the opponent a look at what's going to be coming next,
Right.
And I can promise you that Matt likes knowing when a blood rush is going to be there.
Sure, absolutely.
So kind of knows that unless he's able to do anything, Yugi's coming in with a 5-card blood rush. Figure pops.
Debilitate.
That's ain't too. Is that that's third? That's the third red
I believe
debilitate.
so, yeah, that sounds right. So we know the blood rush is in hand, and debilitate. While it's just threatening the -2,
You want full value.
You
off the
want
blood
full
rush
value
turn.
out of those
You
blood
want
rushes.
full blood rush value.
absolutely.
Let's see. I mean, maybe you go.
No.
You go card 2 pieces of equipment, but that also feels bad.
There's a world where we just see, depending on what's in that arsenal, we could see that arsenal come out and the blood rush go in to replace it.
Right, and just wait one more turn.
If we have another card like Pack Hunt, like Bear Fangs,
Something
I
like
don't
that.
think we've seen. I believe we've seen one red wild ride pitched,
Yes.
but we haven't seen any resolved on the combat chain. Pretty powerful card for KO, absolutely, especially when you go into these turns without an agility token.
Yes.
Yuki, thinking about this one for sure.
Oh yeah. It always seems they have a debilitate right when you want to throw a blood rush. I wish we could have seen what card she put in Arsenal.
Yeah. Looking at that graveyard.
Looking.
This does feel like a very big moment in this game.
Yeah, this
Yuki,
feels like the turning point potentially of if you don't either A, block this right, or B, not block it, eat some damage, maybe something like that. This is definitely a pivotal moment.
Yeah. I mean, Yuki was definitely going into this hand hoping to resolve this first blood rush, and the debilitate kind of telling her no, and delaying this.
Yeah,
this
blocking
spike
with 2
turn.
blues. Man, blood rush turn with 2 blues, that would have been nice. Oh, pitching the blood rush.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
I think there's a chance we see an agile windup or something in this
Right,
hand.
maybe.
Just discarded to set up for next turn. Sure, pitching the Blood Rush never feels great, but there are 2 more in the deck.
There's 2 more in the deck. Because I'm almost certain that what is in Arsenal is not a Blood Rush. I don't think we would have noticed if Yuki had drawn a Blood Rush before.
Mm-hmm.
But like, those moments when you're watching a stream and the caster says something that's 100% wrong, and you as a viewer know that the caster is wrong.
Right.
We could be wrong.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna comment at this exact minute and go, "These guys are dumb."
Yeah. How the turntables.
How's it going? Oh, Matt, gonna block. Look at you.
See the Prime to Fight? Okay.
Prime to Fight.
And
there it is. Like you said, a discard card.
Okay.
Not creating an agility, which I think is maybe a little bit more beneficial, but 2 mites.
Yeah, sure.
Because of Kayo's ability.
Yeah.
But I think
see
you're right.
Matt going into his turn with 3 cards plus an arsenal.
Oh no.
And a Chokeslam.
Jeez.
He is finding all these red.
He is finding all the cards that really just truly Yuki does not want to see. So what we have in Yuki's...
I think that might be 3 copies of Chokeslam, 3 copies of Debilitate.
I believe that's all 3 of each.
And, after these cards, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't really picture much disruption that is left in Matt's deck. I think we've seen...
1 Spinal Crush blocked.
Blocked.
Maybe 2 Spinals blocked? I think we've only seen 1. Oh, what are we doing?
We see a Reckless in hand.
Do we see a Swing Big as well? Reckless, Swing Big, Wild Ride? I think that's what we're seeing. And a blue pack call? Oh man. If you're not worried about gaining, oh man. But then you could risk discarding the Swing Big.
Sure.
But
a lot of options. This
Brute is all about risk.
Yes. And people love to talk about Brute as this kind of unga bunga class, but I think this weekend, and Yuki especially, is kind of proving to us that there's a lot going on under the hood with Kayo.
Oh yeah.
And with Brute in general.
Yeah, with Brute in general. Nathan who?
Yeah.
I don't...
who is that guy?
You know what? I think Yuki is actually probably the master
Just
class.
hand over the channel.
Yeah, just hand
Yuki.
Savage Lands News. You just give that little password there to Yuki, and she'll take over.
Yeah, I
probably
think so.
make better content too.
Maybe,
honestly,
maybe. We see Yuki contemplating this Scowling Flush Bag block. Just
for the it
just
sucks
for the block.
It sucks that the Intim doesn't banish a pummel or something like that. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm. And I think at this point Yuki knows that there's very likely not pummel in this list.
Yes.
So once you're sure that there's no pummels around, you can use that. You can use
it maybe just for a little bit of block.
Yeah, just to get around that crush effect.
All right, so that's looks either
they're messing with their life totals, trying to get that accurate.
Red Bear Fangs revealed from the pack call. Oh.
That's
we're good.
Okay.
1916.
Yes.
Still very close. All right.
Let's see what Yuki has in her pocket here.
2 mites. Is it just a Swing Big for 10? Is that? Or are you gonna take the Tunic, discard the Swing Big?
Okay, we see this wild ride coming in for 8.
Wait a minute. How are we paying for this?
We got the blue in Arsenal. I mean, the blue in the pitch
Oh,
zone.
I see. Okay.
Bear Fangs being discarded.
It's not the Swing Big. That's all that matters. But at the same time, Bear Fangs would be coming in for the same as a Swing Big.
For the same.
With the I think that is a Blood Rush in Arsenal.
Okay.
I thought it was. I thought I saw it, and
Yuki playing patient with it. If that is the Blood Rush.
My eyes are good. Maybe not that good. It looked like it. I just got excited.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'd almost rather honestly discard the Swing Big, because if the Bear Fangs is also coming in for 8,
right,
and then you're not giving them a Quicken. However, the card that you take off the top to discard, watch it be your 3rd cast bones.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep. Swing Big coming in off of the Tunic.
16 damage turn. I'd say it's not too shabby.
Pretty happy with that.
I'd be pretty happy with it. Reference another meme because I hate myself. You ever seen that Brad Pitt one where he goes, "Would you take that deal? I'll take that deal."
Sure.
You haven't seen it. It's okay.
Oh, come on.
But don't worry about it.
Calling me out.
I watch too many TikToks. All right. Matt really contemplating. because you're getting to the point where if you take 8 damage, single digit life, you still have plenty of armor block over there.
We see, what is it? I think 7 points total. 2 on the gauntlets, 2 on the head, 1 on tectonic, 1 on civic steps, and 1 on the shield. Is that 7?
Yes,
Yeah, that's 7. That's math.
Quick math.
So a lot of life
see.
still on the board in that equipment.
Oh, there's a second Spinal Crush. Interesting using because that doesn't transfer turns.
The gauntlets.
The effect of the gauntlet.
No. Yeah.
So just a block.
Just
a block.
Yeah, they're mostly block.
Right.
Outside of these decks like Warriors, where you're getting
Right.
it at reaction speed.
Ninjas turns off the combo.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's a Golden Sun. There's
10.
a Golden Sun. You know what?
10 overpowered. Nothing. Not too shabby there. One of Victor's only ways to kind of push through this, hopefully for the Victor, unblockable damage.
Right.
Brute, not a class with a lot of attack reactions or anything like that to get around the overpower.
Right.
There's some block cards that are in their pool, but I don't think we've seen any Brute decks quite utilize cards like Test of
If you
Agility.
use them. And I guess kind of on the back end of this, while it does come in for 10 overpower, if you reveal it while clashing, you create a gold token.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That kind of a little dual whammy there.
I absolutely love the theme of Victor, revealing a card, it's Golden Sun, creating a gold, and then drawing that Golden Sun to then on their turn play the Golden Sun, destroying the gold that they just created. Like, what a cool design loop. I think LSS really has knocked it out of the park with Victor as our newest guardian, along with Betsy. I think Betsy flying under the radar a little
Betsy, I got smacked by 2 Betsies at our armory last night, so that didn't feel good at all.
All right, well.
Oh, okay. Blocking with a pack call. Flipping, of course. Gonna stay there.
Going to 9 on Yuki's side here. They're having fun with their life app here.
Yes. All right. So, I feel like we're correct that there's a Blood Rush in Arsenal. A 4-card Blood Rush at 14 is better than than nothing.
Sure.
Right. So I think we're gonna see it.
Okay,
in
so
hand.
we got a Blood Rush in hand.
I don't know about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
at
it could
all.
be maybe
There could
Yuki
be
was saving up for the double.
Yuki could save up for the double Blood Rush. We'd love to see it. Oh, so that's a
Wild Ride.
Wild Ride, which is probably red, unless she's running the yellows. Don't know if we've seen a yellow, though. I think it's just the reds.
This feels like the turn where Yuki discovers if she's going to win this game or not. Maybe this isn't the turn where Matt goes to 0 hit points, but I think this is the turn that really tells us if Yuki's got the game in the bag here.
All right. Typical claw for 5 with the go again.
I believe wasn't there a might at the beginning of this turn?
Yeah, so should be 6 go again.
Yeah, there should be.
Oh, there's a Cast Bones, losing that. Maybe just a little bit of a miss there. Obviously not live.
So Yuki really cares about this Cast Bones being on top of the deck because of the Wild Ride.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Good
we can
little
hear
bit of
Yuki
knowledge
say,
there.
"Oop, that's not good." Still don't know what's in the arsenal, though.
Still don't know. Yeah, that's kind of feel by the body language of Yuki there, seeing that Cast Bones and going, oh, so if I do want to play this Wild Ride, there's a 50-50 shot that I whiff.
Sure. But, I mean, hey, here's a little bit of the instance of Clash giving your opponent information.
Giving you information.
Giving you both information. But if Yuki did not see that Cast Bones off the Clash, I have a feeling we'd just be seeing the Wild Ride get sent with no thought behind it.
Nope.
But that Cast Bones being there is definitely a thorn in Yuki's side.
Gonna still.
Yeah, looks like we're just sending it for the damage.
Just gonna know that you're gonna discard it. You've already created a might off the back end for Kayo, so it's like, you know what? Whatever. I don't have the resources for anything else anyways. Just come in for 8.
And, there's also a chance, sure, even if Yuki did get the go again off that Wild Ride, there's not a lot of options in terms of what's in Arsenal that could follow it up.
Exactly.
So this might just be the case of Yuki being sad to get rid of this Cast Bones rather than not having go again.
Right. 8, nothing to scoff at. Put you to 6 if you eat all of it. You do have a 4-card hand if you're Matt, so is going to 8 kind of worth it if you can do a little bit of shenanigans in terms of maybe your third spinal that you see. I can't see Matt's hand as well as I can see Yuki's.
Who I think
Maybe Yuki actually just now realizing as well that she may have missed that might token.
Yes.
Yep. Kind of just realizing that now, so we were just a little bit ahead of the curve. Call a judge about it. There might have been just seeing what they're going to do here.
Okay. So judge call here is just applying the might token to the second attack.
Since
Letting Matt adjust
right.
his blocks.
I'd say a simple enough fix. Neither of them were like an on hit effect, so
Right.
it's just damage.
Yeah. Ultimately, all this call really changes is a single point of damage.
Exactly.
Which, to be fair, especially versus a deck with Reckless Swing, like we have seen Yuki pitch, 1 point of damage could be a lot. But the judge going in a direction here that just maintains the board state.
Pulling a Macho Grande for 8, creating a...
Drawing it.
Creating a gold?
Yes.
Nice.
Off the test of strength.
Wow.
So this Macho Grande, whenever Yuki is at just 9 life, it can be a pretty important card for closing the game.
Right. All right. Took 1. Block 2. Wait. If that was coming for 9, blocked 7. Should be taking 2. That's okay.
And we see Matt using our new Balance of Justice legendary headpiece. Didn't get the block value with it, I believe.
It did. It was on the chain blocking
okay, it was
the
on the
claw.
chain. That link had already
Blocking the claw.
resolved.
Yep.
Okay, so drawing that extra card. All
Okay.
right.
Now let's see. Notably something that I'm just realizing is that Matt has never once thrown the Miller's Grindstone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's been no reason, I guess.
Right.
And Miller's Grindstone, interestingly enough. Oh.
I think we see another call coming out real quick. They're struggling with their life counter. The judge is just helping them figure out what life total tracker to switch to. Looks like they're just pulling out a notepad.
Yeah, easy enough. Hopefully we can do our best to keep mental note if they are stopping using that. Mm-hmm. Oh, they'll probably just pull it out on somebody else's phone.
Yeah, Yuki's going to set the phone down so we can all be on the same page life total wise.
Well, since Yuki's helping
Thanks,
with production,
Yuki.
Ethan, you got to pay her.
Yeah.
Put her on the payroll.
Yeah. So Matt going into his turn with 3 cards and a might on the board. Yuki's sitting at 8 HP. Definitely, within lethal range of a single, Guardian swing.
Does Matt run a single red Macho Grande? It'd be funny.
That'd be nice.
It'd be funny. It'd be absurd, but it'd be funny.
Matt is a little short of playing this blue Macho Grande. Macho Grande being
Costs
7 cost.
Costs 7.
And there's no seismic or anything going into this turn.
Thought it cost 6.
Macho Grande is a 7.
Don't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Heard that, Ghost Rider. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Looking at pitching maybe for one of those red 8 attack cards.
We see
Blue.
Trounce and Macho.
Trounce
pitched.
and Macho. Debilitate coming in for 7.
7 off that might.
This gives the -2 on the crush effect.
Yes, when you have, this crush effect on here, 7 is a lot more than 6. A 6 is a 1 card and avoid the crush effect. A 7 is 1 card plus equipment or 2 cards. Or,
I mean, it would make sense to give up the bone breaker with the card here. If you have to block the card anyways, create the might. You turn off the crush effect.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's somewhat likely we see that, unless Yuki's just got a lot of garbage in her hand and is just like, let's
maybe
just
2
get
cards.
rid of it.
Yeah, maybe 2 cards. Turtle up until you get that perfect 5-card blood rush and hope that Matt can't throw no shenanigans at you.
Thinking through this block, we see a Smash Instinct.
Got a Smash Instinct, probably blue. Oh, going for the Apex Bonebreaker.
Okay.
Nice. So creating another might.
So looking at the bottom life totals now, we see
Yes,
that it's
bottom life
12 to
total.
6. The top life totals, 13 to 8, no longer accurate. Don't look at those. We're looking at the bottom of the screen where we see that it's 12 to 6 in Matt's favor.
2 mites pitching for what? What costs 1? There it is. Look, who would have thought? Not me.
Yep.
So this is the third Blood Rush we've seen. We still have 1 in the deck because 1 was pitched earlier.
We see the pulping discarded.
Get the mite on the back end. Draw 2. Been sitting on that Blood Rush for a solid little minute there. Let's see what we get. Was that a Beast Within I saw? So coming in for this
Claw
one.
for 7.
Claw for 7.
Claw for 7.
Look at that. 7 goes.
3 cards behind it.
Let's see. That looks like a mighty wind up. Okay. Deck's getting a little low. Not low enough where I think that there's the potential for fatigue, because of kind of the lower life totals that they're already at, and seeing this Blood Rush now, but low enough to be noticeable, I would say.
Right.
All right. Blocking with 2 cards here, probably. All right. Is that a Trounce?
Okay.
Love it.
Double Clash
Here we
coming
go.
out.
Chokeslam beats.
Agile Windup, I believe that was.
Yeah.
Blue.
Then-
Buckling Blow. Okay. Yuki takes a
Yuki-
7 to
Yeah.
Matt 6.
So if they both win, does nothing happen with Trounce?
Yes, yeah. But the victor player has to win both
Both.
clashes in order
Gotcha.
for the Trounce effect to happen. Or, the other player, if the other player wins both clashes, then they get the benefit.
Yeah. Okay.
But if it's 1-1, it's a draw.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So,
Oh, we see Matt
Interesting.
using the reroll. But-
interesting.
So right now, he's deciding if he wants the Buckling Blow to go to the bottom and for him to reveal a new card, or if he wants the CNC to go to the bottom and for Yuki to reveal a new card. Honestly, I don't know if there's a right decision here.
I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of 5 power cards left in Yuki's deck, a lot of blues. So I'd almost feel like it would be smart to put Yuki's to the bottom, because you're almost, not guaranteed, but I think there's a higher chance of showing a 5 that goes to a 6 than I'd say Matt showing anything higher than a 7.
Well, so our Buckling Blow that Matt is showing here is a 6. So if Yuki
Yes.
does put the CNC on bottom, it sounds like Matt is putting the CNC on bottom.
here we
so
go.
if Yuki sees a blue,
What is that?
which he does, I believe.
Is that no? I think that's a
No.
red. That's a red, which is already 7.
Yes, yeah.
So it stays the same.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yep. No change to the game state with that.
I'm
was
pretty
a-
sure. I'm
it
pretty
was
sure.
an
the-
assault and battery.
Yeah, assault and battery. I'm pretty sure the red is a 7.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, pitching another blue. Got 3 cards. Do you have another go again card? Excuse me. Maybe not pitching the mighty wind up. Nope, going for the pitch on it.
I think I see a
Is that a pulping?
there.
That is a pulping.
Okay.
1 float. Tunic on 2. Of course it is. What do we have? Okay, assault and battery. That's fine. A red. Able to get it. I mean, might have been a nice arsenal target. Also, maybe not. Unsure. I don't know good enough about what goes well in an arsenal for Brute.
8 dominate.
8 dominate. Not too shabby. I mean, 8 doesn't kill you. You have a little bit of armor block left. Throw 1 card in front of this. Take 5. Go down to 6. All evened up. Still have 3 cards left in hand. Oh, 1 card. No.
Is
1
this
card
the
left in
first
hand.
turn we see a hammer, a 1-card block into a Miller's Grindstone?
I realized the other day that Miller's Grindstone is great until you get 1 -1 counter on it, and then it's absolutely terrible.
4 is a lot different than 3.
4
in
is
Flesh
a
and Blood.
lot different. Okay, so blocking there.
Taking 5. Getting
Yeah.
the life totals evened up here.
Evened up down to 6. Really, Matt's at 4 because Reckless Swing is a thing.
Sure,
So
yeah.
really, he's at 4. Really,
I
because
think we've only seen the one pitched.
I feel like there's only 1 being played.
Okay. I see. 3 seems like a rarity for these brute decks
Right.
nowadays. 1 to 2.
Here we go. First Miller's Grindstone of the game.
Here we go. Now,
if it hits, I mean, do you use scabs here? Do you use scabs in a card just to cover it up? I feel like you're low enough where that might be the right
I mean,
move.
at that point, you're just saving life rather than worried about the on-head effect.
Exactly. Because if your deck's low, maybe you've drawn the third Blood Rush there, or maybe you're counting to be like knowing where it's at in the deck. Like, do you block with a card, take one, hope that you win the clash, and then put a -1 counter? I feel like it's a little bit late in the game to care about that.
Sure. So the clock's running a little low. They're talking to the judge, making sure they know how much time is left. So they're starting to feel the pressure a little bit. I think we see a Reckless. I think we see...
Wait, Reckless?
I'm pretty sure I saw a blue Reckless there.
Wait a minute.
They're all
Let's see.
blue.
I saw an Agile Wind. Oh, so that's a Beast Within. Beast Within an Arsenal.
Taking the full 4.
Gee,
We're going to see the clash happen here.
Let's see what happens. That's
6
a
to
lose.
6.
No. Oh, yeah, 6 to 6. You're correct. Don't listen to me. I'm going to do the Agile Wind-Up probably at the end here to get the go again. Yep. Get the go again in the Might. Tunic will be at 3. 4-card hand. You just got to do 4 points of damage to get that Reckless Swing. Stick it in our... Oh, going to pitch it. Oh, Savage Feast.
Absolute.
Huge.
One of the best cards in the
Huge.
game off of this agility token.
Huge. Wow. All right, two resources floating. This comes in for 6. 7. 7 with the go again. 2 cards float. 2 cards left.
Tunic's
one
up.
Arsenal. I wonder if you pitch that card you just drew and throw the Beast Within. I'll be honest. Beast Within, from what Nathan tells me, I don't listen to everything that he says. One of the worst Arsenal targets you can have in your entire life.
Sure, absolutely.
So, sometimes you got to throw it in there, as Yuki has seen. But from what I hear, you don't love it. Okay. Take 1.
Our life totals at the top are updated now,
Look at that.
5 to 2.
Coming in for... if that's a blue, going for the Mandible Claw into a Beast Within, little 7, 3, 10, 16 damage, non-Blood Rush turn.
And this could be, I think we've seen
damage,
2
damage.
pack hunts. This is the use case for pack hunt. Where
Right.
if that last card is a pack hunt here, then we see 6.
It is the
Just
Beast
the Beast
Within.
Within an Arsenal.
How dare you doubt me? How dare you? All right, coming
Yuki
in for
getting
6
the
with 1
benefit
card.
out of the Arsenaled Beast Within.
So if you block with 1 card here, that's a 3. You go down to 2. He's really thinking you can't do that. He knows that the Reckless Swing is right there. He knows you probably won't see it for a little bit longer. But then as soon as you're at 2, all Yuki's got to do is block to get to that Reckless Swing. Nothing feels better than assured wins.
Matt is also incentivized here to just block with exclusively armor and send the Miller's Grindstone.
Throw the Miller's Grindstone.
For lethal.
Right. But then you do have to be worried about that Quicken that is 100% viable next turn. Thinking about it.
Okay, so we're going to see the card come down.
Oh. With 1 piece of equipment, staying above that 2 threshold. Judge back there with the magnificent beard. Getting ready to call time on him here soon. Unsure when time is. We don't have a little timer. That's okay. All right. Let's see. So just a draw and pass on Matt's turn. Let's see. Yuki, can you do it?
So Yuki really wanted to see some sort of agility generator.
Right.
So we see the Mandible Claw coming out. Now this looks a little weird.
This looks a little funky.
I've got a pretty good feeling that we've got some instant speed shenanigans with
so there's a Wrecker Romp?
these agile cards.
There's a Wrecker Romp. There's a Beast with... That's a Mighty Wind Up.
Mighty Wind Up.
Mighty Wind Up. So yeah, gonna give it a go again. 8 to 6. So Matt does win that one.
8 to 7 because of Kayo.
Yep.
That's a red wild ride.
Oh, is it? Don't listen to me.
So
gonna do that.
Here we go.
Get 2 Might tokens. Get the go again with 2 cards in hand.
And very cool little play. I just want to be clear about what Yuki's doing here. The text on Mandible Claw cares about it gains go again if you have discarded a card with 6 or more. So the instant speed Mighty Wind Up during the reaction step being discarded lights up the text on Mandible Claw. Mandible Claw doesn't care about when you attack. It's just if you have done this.
Kind of like if you throw a dragon in Dromai and then you play a sigil, and then it's like this has now satisfied the Sands of Sandakai.
Yes,
that's what it's called.
Same concept.
Exactly. So a little bit of a analogy there. So let's see. Throwing Beast Withins, coming in for 6 at 3. I mean, if I'm Matt, I'm blocking with 2 cards. I'm throwing with this grindstone. Is what I'm doing here.
Oh, we see 2
Spinal
clashes.
Crush. Nice.
So Matt blocks with 2 clash cards. The same
Gets-
card is revealed
yep.
during both clashes.
Gets 2
So-
vigors. Wow, that's huge actually. 2 free resources.
So this equals a gold if you would like.
Equals a gold, or it's like his little mini techno core.
Absolutely.
Is this dash? What is happening? 2 vigors.
Okay, so we see
Doing the gold, a free gold, getting the Spinal Crush. Oh no. Is that a 4-card hand, Spinal? Oh, two. There it is. Just throwing
we
him down.
see,
Doesn't
yep,
even
full block.
doesn't even care.
Yuki doesn't even have to think about it.
Yuki's like, this is amazing. Love it. Using the tunic. Wow, great.
Having 2
Coming
pitch
in
of
for
red
5,
there.
yep, having a
is
pitch of red.
A little unfortunate. I'm sure Yuki
But-
would have loved to pitch a
Right.
yellow or a blue and maintain that tunic counter. But it's better than not doing anything.
Something
at all.
tells me that Yuki's going to have to use that tunic to block this next turn if you really want to close it out. So, doing the... Oh, there's the Blood Rush.
Ooh,
Oh, the Golden
Sun.
Sun. Just what you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Doing the gold, breaking the gold, pulling the Golden Sun.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So this seems like it could be a game ender for Yuki
Right.
with that overpowered 10. But Yuki does have cards
Right.
like Reckless Swing.
Okay. But we're at 3. So how do,
So
how do we, how do
Yuki
we
has
do
2
this?
points of block here. She's got 3,
Oh,
5,
gonna throw
and
the
then we
Blood
have a
Rush.
Reckless Swing.
Yep.
We absolutely have a Reckless Swing in hand. Yeps.
Interesting.
So Yuki going to 1 here, surviving by
1,
a
2, 3,
thread.
4, 5, 6. Yeah. So
I-
getting the 2 points of damage.
If
Going
you know,
to 1. So they're both at 1.
wow.
They're both at 1.
If I was in Matt's position, I would be flabbergasted right now. Revealing that Golden Sun,
Wow.
drawing it, and swinging the overpower while your opponent is at 2, 3,
3.
3. Wow.
You throw an overpowered Golden Sun at the end of the turn. You both come out at 1,
Yeah.
but all Yuki can do
Look at
is
that
Arsenal
deck on
Pass.
Yuki.
Yeah, we're getting low. I wonder.
But-
I wonder what time is that right
I haven't been paying enough attention, but I do feel like there might be 2 Reckless Swings in this list.
now. Okay. Yeah, me neither. If there is a second one, then that's the game here. Unless you, yeah, and he might know it too. He might be like, "There's 2." He's like, "I'm just gonna." Oh, a Righteous Cleansing.
I mean, at this
Interesting.
point, all Matt can do is
attack
his very best.
his very best.
And cross his fingers that there's no
Cross his fingers
reckless.
that you maybe whiff on a reckless.
Oh, Matt is just making the seismic and passing here.
Oh, he's not gonna. Is he not gonna give Yuki the opportunity? Oh, are they talking about time right now?
So they're discussing, time just got called. They're discussing who exactly's turn it was whenever time was called, as Matt was essentially in his end phase.
Step. Okay, his end phase. I feel like it would. Interesting.
And there was a time extension with this round due to the earlier judge call. So they're just discussing game state. The judge kind of allowed them to discuss things. So that is kind of the situation that we're in here. Yuki is discussing her state that she does have a reckless swing in that pitch stack. So just discussing the game state.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, could Matt hypothetically, if say that we go to Yuki's turn and then we go to Matt's turn, could Matt just hypothetically pass and end in a draw? Absolutely. We'll just kind of have to see if that's how he'd want to go.
So Matt was considering Yuki may have a miss. I may not need, I may not be in a no-win situation. Yuki counting her deck, saying, "I do not have any misses."
I do not. I can almost promise you that I do not have any. But at the same time, the reckless swing has to be one of those top 2 cards of the that's remaining in the deck.
Sure.
Because I don't think that unless there's how many reds is that in hand? I mean, you could pitch maybe 2 reds for a. No, I actually think that she'd be able to draw up the full hand. because you do the agile wind up. Play a 2-cost card by pitching 2 reds. You can see get a breath in there, Yuki. You can see it's comes down to the wire when you're on stream and you're undefeated and time has been called. So, that is
a very intense last point of life. We have Yuki's turn and then Matt's turn. And
interesting.
Then if no player wins, a draw is declared.
So I'm probably going to swing this, discard the agile wind up, throw the CNC. But at the same time, it's like then Matt just blocks out, and that's the game.
So Yuki is not on a time limit with this turn. Things have already been clawed.
Yep.
So she's just being extra careful to make sure that she gets every single point of value that she can.
And there's the reckless.
There's the reckless.
And there it is. Knows that it's coming. Knows that it's coming.
Very interesting.
Okay, is that a might? So I'm gonna discard, give a go again. Man. You know it's coming. Throwing the CNC.
There's the 6.
Knowing that Yuki's gonna draw the reckless swing. It's for Matt. It's I draw or lose.
Sure.
It's if you're gonna look at it, unless there's a miss in there. I don't know if there is though. I really don't.
Yeah, I think what Yuki was looking through her graveyard whenever they were not discussing the concession, but just
where the game state
making
was.
sure, acknowledging the game state.
For sure. Yeah, Matt's
throwing out the fist pump here.
Knowing that the reckless swing is going to come, so a little bit of good
Matt
sportsmanship
being a
there.
Wonderful opponent here,
100%.
Because Matt did have the option to fully block and pass, if Matt fully blocked and passed, the game ends with no winner. So Matt being a gracious opponent. Fantastic game from our 2 players here.
100%.
And we will catch you guys in the next round.
What's up, guys? Josh Lau and Nathan Crawford with the Card Guys back here again to bring you coverage of round 5 of the Hartford Battle Hardened. Once again, thanks to Ethan for recording the matches. Nathan, today we have Kassai against Dromai. So this is a matchup that brand new from heavy hitters. We'll just see how it goes. Let's jump into the match. All right, guys, welcome to round number 5. As you can see, we have a undefeated Kassai on your left and a undefeated Dromai on your right. Daniel versus Evan. I am familiar with Evan, but I'm not so familiar with Daniel here. Evan got 2nd place at U.S. Nationals, a great guy overall. But I haven't seen him play Dromai, so this will be pretty interesting here. So, Nathan, just talking from a high-level position here, how do you anticipate this match going?
So it's actually pretty interesting because I've always been a proponent of Axe's story, specifically Hatchet's story, and that's kind of like a similar along the play style of Kassai. And I did play Dromai for a period of time, so I do believe that this matchup is pretty much in Dromai's favor historically. It really comes down to what is the go again breakdown in the Kassai deck. Do they have enough to? And it's not only that, but it's very timely go again, right? Not just the fact of having enough, but enough in the certain situations. Because you could run into these weird situations where you have a Blade Runner, but you have a dragon that has, 3 health, and you don't want to waste a whole 5 power swing on a dragon with 3 health kind of situation. So I'm really going to be looking at Evan and seeing how he generates his Ash and not wait and play his dragons. Don't play them little by little, but in waves.
Yep. Bringing out the dragons in waves is definitely a very, very useful thing. And we're also going to need to see the level of go again from the Kassai, also whether it is agility token based or it is more on demand through hit and run, Blade Runner, etc. Another thing that we're going to have to keep in mind is whether or not Daniel has decided to bring in Iron Song Pride. Now, whether or not he has that in the list is not a guarantee, because Iron Song Pride is I wouldn't call it a staple in dual wielding decks, but it is a card that some people will run. Having access to Iron Song Pride is very, very useful because it allows you to kind of play like Dorinthia in that you could clear and pressure. If you're just clearing dragons as Kassai, you're going to fall very far behind. So you think about like Guardians, they can only clear one dragon a turn, but they can pop everything that comes their way.
Right.
Certain decks like Ninja, like Mech, they could take down 3 dragons in a turn, no problem. Warrior is in a weird position where they don't have a lot of poppers, and they can clear 2 dragons, but if you do what you said earlier, play dragons in waves, you could quickly become overwhelmed. That's definitely something that I really want to see here is deploying an Iron Song Pride here, basically keeping one of the swords on duty for clearing dragons, and then pushing 5 towards, or with buffs, 5+ towards Evans or Dromai's face here. We got a Kyloria here. This is actually a card that kind of interacts in a kind of funny way in this matchup because there's copper and gold tokens, and Kyloria is a dragon. Does love the money.
Are those cat ashwings?
Those are cat ashwings. They are just 1/1 still, even though they do have a cuteness value of 2. And the Kadachis begin here. The Valiant Dynamos here, I think, going to be okay. So I would have saved them for the Kyloria, but maybe he has a sink below here, or yep. Okay, so there we go. That makes a lot of sense.
I will say the one thing that we really can't sleep on and that can really turn the tide of this matchup in Kassai's favor, I think it's a little bit better in like Dawnblade Dory's situation, but the Grains chess piece on the side of the Kassai, that does not say once per turn. So swinging into a dragon is a guaranteed hit, which means you can continually never have a resource issue in your turns, because you can always just ping into a dragon and then dump into Grains and have those vigor tokens carry over.
Yep. One more thing that we kind of we're not really talking about the play here. We're kind of like setting the stage here because this could be a potentially long match. Kassai's hero ability does stipulate hero. So this is where the whole Iron Song versus thing comes into play here. And attack reactions such as in the swing going to be critical for landing and generating those first couple gold tokens. Additionally, one more thing we need to talk about, Raise an Army is a card, so we could potentially see both players having board states. And it looks like Evan confirming that it is hero only here. Reading the beautiful Marvel there. I'm wondering actually how Raise an Army is going to interact in this matchup if Daniel's playing it in this matchup, because that is a way for a warrior, or for Kassai in particular, to clear several dragons at the same time. So gonna need to generate some gold first, though. Not running Crown of Dominion, so it's gonna take a while to get an army, I think.
Yeah, and I think Evan knows enough about this matchup to where he's going to try everything in his power to deny that gold generation for that exact reason.
Yep.
I think we actually have the first time that Daniel's actually attacked Evan directly. And the problem that we'll start to see much later in the game, depending on how long it goes, is basically that's probably 3 resources or 3 cards that provide go again on the weapons out of the deck. And as those start to dwindle, you don't have access to those lines, and cards like Dromai and things like that, like we just saw played, will be all that scarier.
Yeah. Deploying Blade Runner here on defense here. That's another card with Go Again gone. So in terms of poppers, let's talk about the popper situation for Kassai. I think Evan could basically put him on 3 nourishings at this point. Even though it is literally release day, or 2 days after release day, the Kassai lists have basically consolidated to 3 nourishings in their deck lists. So no doubt Evan's going to be taking a look at those very, very carefully. And, once those are gone, I think we're going to see cards like Yendra enter the red zone pretty consistently. Even cards that rarely enter the red zone like Uvia could definitely see could see that. So far, I'm a little concerned that all these dragons are starting to build up here.
Yeah, we're starting to see the ramifications of what you mentioned earlier, where, he is doing an okay job on managing that board state. However, this turn right here, he's leaking, upwards of 5 to 6 damage, where like at a Bravo match where something similar like this is happening, the dragon just gets popped and you get another chance to kind of recalibrate the board state.
Yep. I'm trying to think if one of the issues with dual wield warrior is that they're very value based. They don't have a lot of on hits. So whoop-de-doo, your hot streak with Blade Flurry hit me. Sure. Okay, it has Go Again. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You took out my dragon. Fine. Okay, that it is what it is. Okay. But I mean, Evan's life is a resource, and he's going to use it. And based on the way that Daniel's playing, it's only been like 4 or 5 turns now. I don't think he's interested in attacking Evan's life total. We might, how you've played Dromai before? How often have you been fatigued by somebody just clearing dragons? If they're not,
everybody tries it.
Yeah, so you try it.
Not
correct.
You usually only try it one time, and you very quickly realize that that's not the optimal route.
Yes. So this is one of those situations where, like, I've not played Kassai versus Dromai, but my knowledge from playing Hatchets, Dory, Saber Combo, Bolton, like Olympia, like all these come into play. I'm like, yeah, I don't think clearing the board, clearing 2 dragons a turn and having 3 poppers in your deck is going to result in a victory here. Because you're just not putting any... Toba Fendel here off Mage Master Boots. Yep. Nathan, looks like we're... This is looking a lot like game 1.
Yep.
A warrior sitting across from a guy with more than 40 health. Health going in the wrong way, as he said.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is we haven't even seen, the Tome of the Imperial Flame yet.
Yeah.
And that's where you really start getting the dragons out. And once again, we're in a situation where he's going to start leaking. He's got the dynamos to kind of cover it up a little bit, but here comes this 2 and the 1 and the 1, and if you don't have a popper, then you're just going to keep leaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is a matchup where we're going to see... I think Dominia should be pretty universal against most decks. Tumultai, maybe not. Tumultai is quite good against Valiant Dynamos, but I think it is very, very likely we do see those 2 dragons make an appearance here. Take it on the chin. One of the MVPs of this set, actually. Really, really good in dual wield warrior. Going to give an agility token to allow Kassai to maintain the board a little bit. And I think now that we've gone to like turn 6, turn 7 here, I think it is safe to say that Daniel does not have Ironsong Pride in his deck list, or did not sideboard it in. And one of the things why I keep talking about that is because some dragons have 3 health, and if your stuff is only coming in for 2, that's not good. So,
and Josh, that's why Hatchets is just fundamentally better, right?
Yeah, you also have access to Cleave as well, which is I mean Cleave is a very good card. Spill Blood, very good card.
Just so to set the record straight, I don't think Axe's Dory is better than Kassai, but you know.
All right, Gorg Tome here going to allow all the swords to be free, which is good. And we have a agile engagement there. Just see, having to burn a whole card there because Mirror Guy has 4 health. Of course, that would take several Iron Song Prize to fix, but you know that would. In this matchup, you're basically guaranteed to have a 5-power sword eventually if you play them.
And one thing of note, Josh, the card that Evan just pitched that burned them all.
Yep. We saw him pitch another one just a turn or two ago. So those are coming back.
Daniel has no AB. So basically you're at effective, I would
20.
say maybe 15. You know, if Evan plays the burn them all smart and saves them to the end and make sure they don't tick too high, I think you can get a solid, 14 damage or so out of 2 burn them alls. And yeah, like I don't know how you stop the leak damage without having poppers and try to manage the board state, even with the dynamos. It seems like a very challenging goal. But I mean, this is probably Kassai's worst matchup, I would say. Maybe like a super aggro prism could be a little bit worse, but you do have dynamos to kind of hit those breakpoints. It just really depends.
I'd say Dorinthia is also pretty difficult because none of the Centauri Saber basically has no text against Dorinthia. Or also, I think this deck would struggle immensely against the Icelander. But a lot of decks would struggle against Icelander.
Yeah, she was pretty good.
Yep. All right, Hot Streak Puncture here. Going to take care of this Thamai. And we still have 2 Cat Ashwings sitting around, joined by this Dromai here. One thing I'm looking at is we have a balance of justice for Kassai here. I think as soon as you see your opponent flip Mage Master Boots, you probably want to block. Well, you want to get the Guardwell on the. I guess there's also the chance that you could get it from Tome of Imperial Flame, but you basically know they're running Tome of Fendel, so you might as well get the block off that. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an important piece of information
Raging
for
Onslaught.
Evan.
Yeah.
Yellow Raging Onslaught. So now you basically have to put Daniel on at least 6 poppers, 3 of the Yellow Raging Onslaught and 3 Nourishing. Maybe even 7 to 9 in the form of CNC could be possible. So I'm sure Evan's kind of calculating that.
I will tell you from experience that 9 poppers plus clearing 2 dragons does not cut it.
Yeah.
you have to have like 30 poppers, or you have to have on hits that threaten Dromai's hand or life total. And well, welcome to our second TED Talk, guys.
Daniel just said to the mic that he said Dromai's not a fun matchup.
No, it is not. Dromai actually bullies every single warrior except Dorinthia, and Dorinthia has to be piloted to perfection to make it slightly favored towards Dorinthia. Blade Flurry has done a lot of work to improve that matchup. Iron Song Pride, obviously very, very strong in that matchup too. All right, speaking of Tome, we got a Tome here. And 2 cards that he needs to pitch there. All right, so there's a Vinny and a Yenderai there. Going to generate some Ash here. And all right, so Asvalai here. I guess he is lower than 15 when you count the Asvalais and Burn the Walls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Dromai deck just attacks you from a very, very particular way, but in like several particular ways, and you basically have to fend them all off. And certain classes can't do that as effectively as others. And this is kind of just this is just how it is. So what would help this matchup? Agility tokens instead of Blade Runner-esque effects, but obviously you have to play Blade Runner and Kassai. Like, it's just that good, right? But having a couple extra poppers would also help. Having agility tokens would help. Having access to Ironsong Pride would help. And I would actually say having a couple wager cards would also be useful. This is a trend that I think we're going to see develop a little bit more as soon as Warriors realize, hey, wagering an agility token with my opponent is basically free rolling, because very few decks can block it and use the agility token. Right. So I think we're going to start seeing Dorinthia and Kassai start incorporating the +3 to your next warrior attack wage card. And all right, so we're seeing a lot of dragons being managed here, but the board has never been clear, and that is actually why Daniel's health has ticked down slowly. So the inability to pop consistently and the inability to clear 3 dragons in a turn is basically creating the situation. And there we go. There's Dominia there saying, show me that hand. I'm going to rip a popper if you have one. Uvia revealed. So, and goodbye, Yellow Raging Onslaught. Into the Banishstone you go. And does he even have enough damage to kill this? This is one way you could just instantly lose the game here, is if you cannot immediately clear Dominia. Yeah. Okay, so in the swing and several other cards there, hopefully has a Blade Runner would be good here. It looks like he has a Goblet. He's going to throw the swing there. Yep.
He has Spoils of War, so worst case scenario, you can use Spoils into your Saber into Dominia because it has 4 lives. So the problem is you can't clear the Azraeli now unless you have something that adds damage in Arsenal.
Braveforge Bracer would be fine. Assuming he has enough resources.
Yeah, you can't afford it though.
Yep.
Unless you can draw a card somehow.
Yep. At this point, I think it is actually safe to say that this game is over. This is a faux pas in casting, but Nathan, I think you and I have similar personalities in that,
we're not going to sell you something else.
We're not going to sell you a bridge that doesn't exist here. Spoils of War here, gonna start generating some copper here at the very least, so that's good. Generating cash-in food is good. And he's activating Kassai's ability, but that's hero only. Is he going after Evan right now? Attacking Dominia here, but that's going to expend the Kassai charge.
I don't think
does it?
Does.
Or is it next time it hits a hero?
Yeah, I think it's next time it hits a hero, and I think he has it in the swing in Arsenal to pump it by 3, probably. What I'd guess. Or else it's really risky to go ahead and just banish your yellows out of your graveyard like that.
Yep.
In the swing from Arsenal one time. Look at that.
There you
Look
go.
at that.
All right. Pretty nice.
So that's a good start. You got some copper. You got a gold. Blood on Her Hands is a good card.
He forgot to generate his copper.
Oof.
Yep. All right.
Well, he has 2 copper, but he doesn't have gold, right? He generated the copper, but not the gold.
I'd have to.
Or did he already have that?
His Spoils of War applies to the whole turn, so he's definitely supposed to have 4 copper because he's hit 2 times. As for the gold token, I got to reread Kassai's ability very, very carefully. Anyways, Tome into Dromai here.
Oof.
And basically the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse about to come into play here. Dromai, Azraeli, and I don't know, Kyloria. Those are the three dragons of the apocalypse, I should say. And yeah, I I don't know really what to say. This Dromai deck is very, very pretty.
I mean,
It is nice to look at least. So, you know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do love about Tome of the Imperial Flame is Evan really hasn't had to utilize it in this way, but we've noticed that Daniel is very reluctant to attack Evan directly, right? I think in this entire game so far, he's only attacked him directly twice.
Yep.
With 2 different swings, and so the D-reacts that we know Dromai decks always run, Sink Below, D-react, and sometimes even Sand Cover, can get clogged into your hand. However, Tome of the Imperial Flame is a great resource to just get those out of your hand to the bottom of the deck, whether they... Of course, you can always pitch them as well, but it's just a great way to like filter and still have a big turn.
Yep.
So very, very good card.
Okay, we haven't seen a CNC yet from Daniel, so I think it's safe to say he's running 3 Raging Onslaught Yellow, 3 Nourishing Emptiness at this point. And the second Rake the Embers here, I mean, Rake the Embers is one of those cards that is just... It's very, very hard to quantify the value, but you just feel it in your bones when these 3 Ashwings stay alive for like 2-3 turns. It's like, okay, that one card generated like 10 value or more.
Yep.
It's yeah. This is why being kind of in the middle in terms. So you like we said before, you either deal with dragons by deal with Dromai by clearing your board all the time, or by popping everything she sends across the middle of the board.
Now,
and
this is probably the scariest dragon. Uvia, for a deck that operates on weapons that's not like Dawnblade, right? Because now you have to add 4 to your weapon swing to actually kill it, which means you have to have an in the swing and a Blade Runner or something like that just to kill it. So very scary dragon.
Yep. 6 health, extremely difficult to deal with. And I mean, frankly, I don't think this game's going to last very much longer here. So, moral victory if he gets Evan below 40. Oh, man. Okay, well, I think we have pretty much said everything we need to say. Play Iron Song Pride if you're playing dual wield. This is actually one of the reasons why hatchets... Although you have higher damage output, it's still not easy into Dromai.
No, it's not. It's not. Even with all the agility generation and everything.
Like cleave helps. Don't get me wrong. Cleave is the equivalent of Iron Song Pride in terms of dual wielding builds. It helps a lot, but that single card doesn't quite get there. You basically have to pair it with like Remembrance and. Yeah.
3 reactions. I'm gonna play Take It on the Chin, sends prevent 2, good agility.
And well, at least this cash-in should be live here. I think the copper is at 6, so maybe he did remember the copper from a couple turns ago.
He said, "Let me do a little bit of damage."
Oh man. Yeah, it's not a good look for Kassai when you can't deal any damage to your opponent. But yeah, this kind of reminds me a little bit of the old him versus Prism. It's just like, well, your hero just is not equipped to deal with what they can do.
Oh, there's a cat on the Ash side.
So so Dromai gives it wings, basically. I see. That's pretty cool.
Damage, man. Just give me like a little bit of I have Gogan from that. That's fine. I'm gonna hot streak face
To go again and Evan shaking his boots.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Blade Flurry.
Blade Flurry
I can't have this.
for
So
an 11th of his life total,
back to
or a 10th, somewhere around there.
All right, got him back down to 40.
Got him back down to 40. Here we go.
create another Vigor token.
Well, Nathan, when I signed us up for casting some,
You
Some
picked
of
the
the-
2 hard ones.
I mean, I was just like, oh, there's like 11
Warriors.
matches here. Oh, let's cast the Warrior games, Nathan. Well, you know, it is what it is. All right.
And just to clarify, it's not anything particular the players are doing. It's just
Yeah,
one of
it's-
those matchups where unless you have like a deck where you sacrifice so many aspects of so many other matchups, it's just one of those like 90-10 matchups that you can't really. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe
But-
that's exaggerating, but it's probably like 80-20 for sure. And
He put his Brave Forge bracers in the graveyard. That's how dejected
Oh, no.
he is.
yeah.
When the Warrior takes off their bracers, that's basically saying the good game. And this is a very, very, very familiar sight to me. Staring down like 8 Ashwings here, not having a popper, and yeah, having to deploy a card to stay alive. And yeah,
I'll go to 1.
even Evan it doesn't look like he's
Yeah.
having much fun. He's like, I mean,
No.
okay. I mean, I guess I'll go to 5-0.
I mean, he's got what 7 cat wings on board.
Yep.
Oh yeah, dude, Bravo's so pathetic. I love that match.
So I guess let's just talk about briefly like what matchups Kassai would want to see. So I think Kassai does fairly well into obviously decks that are running attack action cards, but also decks that are playing a little bit slower. Like Kassai is a deck that takes time for them to get value. I mean, any deck that has Grains plus Dynamo is really going to need some time to get there. Cash in here, going to draw 2 cards here. Blood on her hands. That is another card that we actually didn't talk about that is actually very, very important. Blood on her hands is a way to clear 4 dragons.
Yep.
But that requires 4 copper, right? So key cards: Blood on her hands, Iron Song Pride, Raise an Army. I think with some combination of those, this matchup could be a little bit closer. Not saying it's going to be anywhere remotely favored, but there's a chance, right? And we got to think about, like, from the LSS development standpoint, they knew Dromai would be in the game when they developed Kassai, right? So no doubt they tested this matchup, and there are cards that we just listed 3 of them that are good here, right? So it's possible that they were like, well, this is just a bad matchup for them, just move on. But I think they did, pay attention to, okay, this could be a little bit rough. Let's try to give a little bit of counterplay for Kassai. So,
Right.
yeah. So I even though this is a not so pretty game, I do think we can still learn something from it, and we could say, okay, let's look at these possible answers and see if they're any good.
That's it.
Something better every day, right?
Oh, almost down to 30.
Yeah.
Past 30.
Oh, past 30. Okay, here we go.
Let's go.
Yep.
Saber for 3.
And Evan could be like, you know what? Let me just show you my burn them all.
3, 26.
And we'll call it, right?
The last one, and then 2
Lead with speed. This is the card that
for 6.
I think this is actually one of the cards that's a little bit divisive in Kassai, actually. We've seen some builds with it, some builds without it. Same thing in Dorinthia and Olympia. We've also seen builds with and without it. So this is a card that,
The curse matchup. Oh, this is my worst
I mean,
matchup. by
you're
far.
just going to have to play a little bit more with and see.
Cannot win this matchup. I guess I'll play but if you just dodge them and Dromai's
And Tome of the Imperial Flame here. I guess one of those things is that, like, Evan's been, like, turboing through his deck pretty quickly. I think he's going to... Okay, he has Asvalites there and burn them all. And
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
All right. And then he got there. Okay. All right. I don't know if there's much that we need to talk about post-game, Nathan. Any quick thoughts there?
No, I mean, like I said, it was an uphill battle from the beginning. Both players played well. Evan obviously has a lot of experience. He was a prior Lexi player. Glad to see him land on another deck that he seems like he's enjoying playing. Just maybe not that particular matchup, but overall, it's a tough hill to climb, and sometimes you run into your bad matchups. That happens.
Sometimes the gem gods giveth, the gem gods taketh away, right?
That's right.
All right. Anyways, this has been Josh Lau and Nathan Crawford with the Card Guys. Quick shout out to our sponsors at the Card Guys, Dragon Shield, Fabric, and Magnolia Gaming. Thanks for supporting the Card Guys. Well, until next time, take it easy. Take care.
Take care.